Are you threatening me?
No, I'm warning you. There's a difference.
Oh, it's different. That's different.
Yeah, the threat is sort of implied. A warning is like it's just informational. Like
No, this is
I'm
seriously
about to
happening.
beat you up. That's a warning. It's not a threat.
You can't just
That's-
say, "Are you threatening me?" You have to do the move.
You knew what I was doing.
You have to pull the shirt up over the top.
You knew what I was doing. Very good.
I'm
You
glad
do
I
the
don't.
whole thing.
Nobody knows.
Really?
I have no idea what
No.
you're talking about.
He doesn't know.
As
Even
usual.
Kent?
Kent will know.
All right, we're gonna drop.
Nobody knows.
Hey,
Are you threatening me?
Brett,
Yeah.
you put some stuff in here that we talked about last week.
That first one, there was some stuff that we didn't cover on that one, but I agree. It was
No,
mostly
but we'll
talked
drop
about last
it
week.
given present company.
Oh yeah. Is there a time
Sure.
I need to be in?
No, it's being deleted. We don't need
yeah.
to
Work on
rehash and tell stuff.
GPUs.
We can
I
do
was-
it later.
I was
You can
only
talk
gonna.
about a thing if I need to abstain from a thing. I just won't talk.
You can
during that
abstain
thing.
from the thing.
Let's put it further down the list. We're not going to lead off with stuff we already
No.
talked about last week.
Don't need to.
Oh.
Nope. You can rearrange that. Please go right
Where's the
ahead.
regular chat for the PC per? Public. There we go.
That chat is probably gone. We just use like the YouTube chat now and Discord.
Are you in Discord? Yeah, the Discord chat's cool. As soon as I get the link, I will be able to update the live page, though.
YouTube. It's like, holy shit, it's Al Avatar. That's a new one.
Al Avatar.
I don't know. Check out the
I
YouTube
don't know.
chat.
I'm
People
not
are
sure.
freaking out
I don't
because
know.
the Alan is here.
Okay. All right. PC per live.
Yes.
Click on the thing, but then I'm gonna hear two of us.
Just
so I gotta
mute
turn
it.
it
I always
off.
just
You can
pause
mute-
the video and use
you can
the
mute one of
pop-out
them.
chat.
Yeah, you can use the
Yeah.
pop-out chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even need the. Oh, there's a pop out chat. Yeah.
Yes, you can use
Pop
that.
out the chat. Ah, yes.
Pop out to chat. Pop out to
Ah,
chat.
yes. And you pull up the email and look at the
baseball bat.
snapshot of the show notes.
Yeah, that is not the full show notes.
Yeah, I figured.
Hold
Let's see. Tesla. Yep, I got that covered. Synology. I don't even know what you're talking about with that. I guess I might as well look that one up.
That's what drew you out of the woodwork, which is I find amusing.
You'll
No,
hear
I
less about
didn't even know what
Synology
the
after
story
this
was.
decision.
I sent you a link to the show notes, Ellen.
I will try to find it.
To your
I don't know where you. I don't.
your actual email, like your Gmail,
Oh,
which I will not give on the stream.
Gotcha.
Jeremy,
Be
live
super hard.
notes.
Be super hard for people to guess.
It's a clever name. I would never be able to spell it correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Open. Okay.
Let's see.
Do, 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 do.
What do I want as my pick? There's some really good adult diapers out there.
Oh damn it! I'm supposed to have a pick.
You don't have to have a pick.
This is why I quit.
Yeah, the pick. It's too much pressure.
Blame Colleen. It's her damn fault. Well, and ours for just
Oh,
not
really?
stopping it dead.
Did she start it?
That Kegel
She started this way back in the day.
She started the pick of the week, huh? Oh, that's amazing.
And we all
Leo-
hate it, but yet we
It's
keep doing it.
electric.
Maybe it was a Leo.
Boogie,
thing.
woogie, woogie.
I don't know. Was it a Leo thing? Maybe. I don't
He
know.
always had something. I don't know if that was on.
Yeah, but we didn't want to see that.
Well, okay, it's a different thing. There we go. Pop out chat.
All right, I got
Still not seeing the live page.
Check
Oh,
it
there
again. I
goes.
got it. Yep, thank you.
It just went. Whoa! And YouTube chat works, sadly.
I got a pop out chat, but I don't think it's updating anymore. Or people just
Pop
stopped
up and down
talking.
headlights.
Say
Should
something.
do it. Got
Test.
my chat.
Yeah, I never know if it's actually working or not.
It
Oh,
seems
okay.
to be.
Boom.
Hey, chat, if it's working, please let us know.
Yeah, we got it.
Oh,
We
there
got
we
it.
go. Okay.
47 people are going to say it's on.
Icy dog.
Never send a sin to Brett because you'll get a boom instead of an ack.
That's right. It seems,
Jokes for nerds.
bigger. It seems bigger.
That's not bad.
What? What are we talking about?
It's probably Josh's pick of the week,
Oh,
which at one time was actually
really
Old Man
interessante.
Slippers. Although I'm
Was.
editorializing when I said Old Man. They were really slippers.
What's wrong with slippers?
Do you know my dog ate my new old man slippers?
I don't,
Oh,
I
damn.
don't think I could. I don't think I could type in the
Yeah.
show notes.
You can't?
It's
I was
probably a share.
cranky.
It's probably a share link.
Oh, was this a share link?
shall I-
Okay.
Yeah.
Must have
Let me
done something
see
wrong
if I can
here.
fix that. I don't know if you can fix it. Go ahead.
Whatever. I don't absolutely have to type in the show notes.
Well,
You know, I've never had a Scotch egg. What is a Scotch egg?
Oh, it is a beautiful, wonderful piece of food that Scotch have come up with.
Yeah,
Hard-boiled egg wrapped
Yeah.
with ground sausage and
Oh.
some breading, and then deep fried, cut in half
Okay.
and served. It is got to be healthy for you. I mean, it's fresh eggs.
So
and
it's like
stuff,
my burgers, except
Yeah,
Scottish.
except so good.
Well, Alan, you're listed as an editor on my list here, so I don't know why you can't
Oh, I
edit.
don't know.
You're not just a viewer.
yeah, you should be able to get it now.
That would be
I've got a.
interesting.
Oh, maybe I gotta. Is it still the same everything? Like maybe I can get in there the old way.
No,
you're
'cause
interested.
the show notes are under my Google Drive, and I just share it out every week.
Oh, it's
They're not the
different.
old one under Ryan's anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing.
Okay, sorry.
Whatever.
You should be. Look at yourself.
I can send you.
What do you see?
I can,
Yeah,
I'm
send me
very
a
sorry.
send me a link and I'll cut and paste it in if you want.
yeah, yeah. That's
I
what
love
was,
your stereo. Brett.
my
What am I doing?
what?
Every
works
once in a while,
perfectly if
Brett
you don't
goes
move
in
your head.
stereo.
Yeah, the moment you move physically, it starts jumping.
It goes back and forth.
How
Do you
about-
have your thing set on
how
that
about now?
binaural setting?
No. It's the problem is I think the Chrome crapped out on me for sharing into vMix, and I'm using Firefox now.
We all
I
know
think
what
I
the
messed
real
up the
problem
audio.
is, Brad.
No, no.
Brett.
Well,
Brett talks out of both sides of his mouth, and it comes all the way to us.
Brett does
That's
not
right.
use operating
does
system
that even
software that is appropriate for the hardware that he's using.
you're wrong
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
Oh, you're on a
You're
Mac.
absolutely.
He's on a Hackintosh.
He likes his Hackintosh.
I know he does, but
I
he
do.
always has
I do.
video and audio problems.
No, I don't.
Amazing.
It's true.
No.
Well, for
No.
the last 2 weeks,
He's
you've
also
had
in
video and audio
denial.
problems. And he's,
So
he's
he's
so
on
deep
computer
in
hardware
denial.
that's actually not appropriate for any uses, since it's a Hackintosh.
Hey, Alan, who is your favorite PCIe 4.0 SSD controller?
Controller
Yeah.
for 4.0?
So we got
On the
Phison?
spot. He's on the spot.
I can't say the name of my favorite
Correct
controller
answer
for
is
that.
Bison.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Samsung?
Samsung.
Samsung.
No, I would say I'm not afraid to name a competitor, but that is not my favorite controller at the moment.
He's got like enterprise grade stuff to play with. Why would he care about us like
yeah.
consumer
So
device
I mean,
options?
come
he's
on.
got he's got something unreleased that he's like, this is godly, and I can't tell you about it.
It's the kind of stuff that only Linus gets to play with.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
No, Linus would just do like a file copy to it and call it good.
Yeah, and then very excitedly talk about like, look at these straight line speeds, 24 gigabytes per
Okay.
second. It's a RAM drive.
Available commercially controllers. Which one's the best
I
out
mean,
of the current ones that are out?
Define commercially.
Commercial in the sense
Okay,
that it's like
I'm
an
looking
enterprise.
on
for God's
Newegg,
sakes.
and I've got a choice between Western Digital, Phison, and Samsung. Those are the main three that I could actually buy today and insert into my computer.
Yes.
Gently,
Right, but-
softly, nicely.
But here's the thing. The Samsung Gen 4 one is like more of a like they're marketing it and they're pricing it like really power user level stuff. So it's not like I don't know. I mean, I'm not even using a Gen 4 SSD in my personal system. Like I don't need it.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
Intel
you
doesn't
think
have
you don't need it.
PCIe 4.0
You beat me
No,
to it,
I've
Josh.
got. I have 10 PCIe 4.0 SSDs on that other table over there, that I'm
But
right there.
And nothing,
What-
to plug
Nothing to
into.
plug them into. Oh no.
Alan, is your personal rig still like is it
No, I
like a
got stuff to plug
Z270
it into.
board or something or?
So one of those three that I just talked about would you suggest is really
I'd like going more. Honestly, I would just go out of those three. Whatever you could find for the best cost per gig for what you're after. Honestly, because all three of them are decent anyway, right? But just don't throw money at it. Like get the out of those three, since they all perform adequately for what they are. Do what we did when I was working with you guys. It's what was cost per gig?
That's not best. That's just best value.
What do you
but-
mean?
but you're still
Well,
still throwing the E16 in there, which is still kind of crappy.
The new Phison one? It's not bad.
That's the E18, right?
no. The E18 is the new one. But you're just saying, what 4.0
Oh, you're-
and the E16 is still being sold, and it's probably the best cost
Right,
per
and it's-
gig of.
Yeah, and it's I mean the performance, unless you scale high enough on the QDEF to really push it hard, is very similar to the Gen 3 version of it.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the QDEF 1 through 8 performance of even
Oh, yeah.
for sequential, like it's media limited, it's not bus limited, right? So you're waiting on the NAND, and the NAND is only going so fast anyway. So what's the use of the Gen 4 bus only lets it get a higher maximum, but normal
Yeah, and
stuff
plus
doesn't
that
get to the
NAND,
maximum
he's,
anyway.
he's over at Apple, and he's kind of short, and his legs are short, and he can't run that fast
No,
anyway. So
that's a NAND.
Yeah.
That's a NAND. And if he ran very
Oh.
quickly, his shoes that he always wore would fall off.
Yeah, they would have.
They were like the
The-
toe
the
shoes.
5 fingers,
Yes.
Vibrams.
Yeah, the gloves. All right, should we start this thing or
We should. We should.
I don't know. There's a bunch of people who said, "Why don't you do the same thing but in the show?"
No,
no?
but maybe.
This is the extra stuff that you get to
That's
see. If
like
you're a patron.
that's like what I told my girlfriends for the first several weeks, and it never went over very well.
I don't want to know.
It'll come to you.
Oh yeah, that's what you also. That was another thing that he said.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. This show is not PG rated. Put the kids
No,
to bed, by the
no,
way.
Never
I
has
specifically
been.
checked not intended for kids, like not for children.
We have to do that.
Yeah,
We have to.
there's some adult.
Hell, it's
topics
barely
that you can
intended
talk
for
about.
adults.
No, it's not for normal
Alan's
people.
barely an adult.
It's barely for living, breathing, partially thinking human beings. So
Right.
I've just insulted all of our viewership.
Yep. In a full-size car,
Somewhere
Alan
Jim
can barely
is
reach the
crying
pedals.
into his
Actually.
whiskey glass.
Okay.
Alan has to wear blocks on his feet.
Yes.
That's why I like Sirocco's.
It's like a clog sort of thing where you can touch the pedals.
Little wooden blocks.
It makes heel-toe driving really interesting.
Oh,
It's like an Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom.
He doesn't have to
Kids
shift
driving the car.
anymore.
go get him short round.
He's short round. Yep. All right.
All right, let's do this.
No. Okay, fine. Just this once.
3, 2.
All together. Once.
Hey everybody.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey everybody. It's the PC Perspective Podcast. Let's start that over again so I have a better edit point. Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 614. Being recorded on some date in early February. I think it's the 3rd, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
So 3/2/21, the international date.
Is it?
As compared to people who are hoping that the F1 announcement would happen tomorrow, or it was today, because 2/3. Anyway, dates. I
That's
can't
Josh.
get any. I'm married.
That's Josh.
Newest
Who
member
else
of a new conspiracy no one but him has heard of. I'm not falling for it. I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
Are we going around?
Let's start over again.
Pick
This is
one.
You missed Brett.
chaotic. All right, let's
Who's Brett?
in whatever order.
Come on, Sebastian introduced me, and so I was letting whoever it goes.
It's the PC Perspective Podcast, episode 614, being recorded on February 3rd, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
Jeez, I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm going to be Brett Van Sprumberg tonight.
I'm Kent Burgess.
And special guest.
Look at who it
Some guy
is.
we
Look at
don't
the
know.
bottom center if you're watching the video. The one, the only. Alvin Maltavino is here.
Maltavino.
That's the name he's required to use when he's on the show these days. It's for legal
And
reasons.
that introduction
Stage
was like
name.
using Jiffy Crunchy Peanut Butter for lube.
Textured.
You know,
and not for the first time.
Funny you should mention that because lube actually does come up legitimately later on in the podcast. We'll talk more
For the
about
second
that.
week in a row. We can't get away from
It does.
Peanut butter lube?
It does not. I just want to mention that if Alan appears shorter in your video, it's because he actually is. So
Okay. Well, look, just because you intentionally put your camera lower to appear taller doesn't mean that... oh, look, now he's
I
going to play
just-
the game, too.
I know he did. I know he did.
By the way, you can find out when we go live for exciting events like this podcast recording session, which we started 33 minutes late, by going to
Wow.
pcper.com/subscribe to be notified. And you can help support the site by going to patreon.com/pcper and donating to
Please
become
do
a
so.
patron. Yes.
Because we absolutely love our patrons. Thank you
We
very
do.
much. Without the patrons, this kind of thing doesn't spin around. So really appreciate it.
I mean, it barely does with them. So without them, it absolutely would not.
It
think that's
stops.
fair
The
to say.
merry-go-round stops.
So it's the time in the show where we move things to Laramie, Wyoming. If I can find the correct mouse here.
Do we have to?
We can.
Oh, we do.
You ate a
Oh, we
burger
do.
this week.
It's popular
Oh, man.
demand.
It is. People love
Yeah,
burger
this
of the
one's
week.
called the bridge. The bridge. And this is a mouthful. I had to eat it with a knife and fork because it was just too much. So of course you start with the 2 4-ounce patties. You top that with Swiss cheese, then queso, then pastrami, and a layer of fries in between the sesame seed buns. And I am not going to eat for another 36 hours. It's a tremendous amount of food, and it tasted good. And I'm going to see my cardiologist next Wednesday.
or sooner.
You know, you're obviously
Possibly
going
in
to
the
live
emergency room, yes.
well past that 55. You're being so morbid about that. But you do this in a responsible way. You eat once a week, one giant meal that
Yeah.
locks
Yes,
you up to
that's-
the point where you just...
You can't
that
eat
is how a
anymore. You go on-
nutritionist would tell you to
it's-
live. Yeah.
I don't need to fast. It just happens. It's like, all right, guys, I'm going to fast for the next 24 hours, and it's going to be awful. And this is like, yeah, no, I'm still full.
Like right now. You're still
really
full right
fasting
now.
when you're still
Oh.
stuffed full of patty.
Yeah, no. So it's yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's I can't eat for a day after I have one of those, at least.
All right, well, let's move on
But
to
I'm
our
not
first...
talking about drinking.
Thank goodness for that. Josh, you should have like a defibrillator standing by. Do you have one just off screen?
You have a
over there,
built-in
just
one?
in case.
Not to get
It's
personal or
already,
anything.
he's already got
I mean,
the pads
just in
attached.
case.
It's just,
Just in
it's
case
automatic.
you could
I had it installed.
go. All right.
No, you see,
I'm fine.
I've just got an old extension cord that I've split in half, and I've just plugged
Yep.
that in, and I've got
Yep.
2 holders, and so when it's time to go, I'll just
just
I was
just a
going to
couple of
say he
raw
had a Raid
leads.
Max power supply sitting beside him.
Right, exactly.
I'd be
Or
living
the
dangerously.
NZXT M1. That'll fire you right up too.
You mean the H1?
well, didn't Silverstone
H1.
have
Sorry, H1.
recommendations on what the power supply if you're getting a Radeon 6800? It's like if you're getting a Ryzen 3600X and a 6800, you need at least 750 watts. And then for the top end, like 5950 and a 6900 XT, you need 1200 watts. Do you think that's a
You're
little
really?
excessive?
That seems excessive, Josh.
Yeah.
Look at my Twitter feed. It's there retweeted.
Interesting that they're saying that. I wonder if their power supplies are like set up differently. Like maybe the volt or the.
Well, they're talking about
Capacity
their
per-
SFF.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know.
Really smart.
Well,
small
it could
form
be it.
factor? 1,200 watts, Josh?
1,200 watts?
It's something like that. Okay.
They have 1,000 watt
really
SFF.
need me to
at
look
least.
this up? I mean, I've got
who makes
Sebastian
that?
here to look
Yeah,
things
I
up.
did one of these
Silverstone is all
a while
about
ago.
density. We've talked about this on
Oh,
the show
Silverstone.
before.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a reason I could think they might possibly recommend that,
God.
and that's if
So
you look at the
yes, here,
efficiency
GPU.
curve of a power supply, right? Like the peak is somewhere around like a half to 3/4 of the.
You want
So
you
maybe
want a
maybe they're
standard
trying
80.
to look out for you. Yeah. If you're gonna draw, 800 watts with your system, you should do so efficiently and put the 1,200 watt power supply in.
Sure.
Or
All right,
something.
to
want a
get what
standard
we're talking
under
about, I
80%.
posted this in Discord on PC per Staff, and you can link to it there and see exactly what I'm talking about. And yes,
Oh, yeah.
1,200 watts for a Ryzen 9 or a Core i9 with the 6900 XT is what Silverstone recommends.
Well, they're trying to sell big power supplies, right?
Yeah.
They like big power supplies, and they cannot lie. Though other
I mean, what's the
manufacturers
what's the
can.
price
I
on
knew
that?
it. I knew it.
What's the price on that 1,200 watt power supply? They're kind of pricey,
Oh, it's
especially
gotta be
now.
up there.
They're
It's what,
pricey.
300 and some odd bucks?
Easily.
Yeah.
Oh, weirdly, you can buy power supplies.
So when a girl
you
walks
can.
in with an itty bitty grim and some VRMs in your
God.
face, you get
Hot.
You're just making
Yeah.
this up, and it's
Okay,
it's actually pretty good.
Here is their
It was till
recommended
you just-
PSU table.
it's terrible. My dog's going crazy. Why in the hell? What is my wife doing in the back with these dogs?
Throwing
Obviously
shoes.
nothing. Yes. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't understand these requirements either, unless
It seems
it
excessive.
seems
They
like
seem
they
a
don't
little
have confidence in their
stiff.
PSUs, but maybe
Oh.
I don't know. It's like,
Ah,
hey, to
Silverstone.
actually hit 1,000, you need 1,200. And I'm sure that's not the case,
mean-
but that's what it looks like.
I mean, I could see leaving some margin in there and, stuff. I kind of get it, but they're also motivated to round up, right?
Right,
So-
exactly. All right, moving right into news. Just
I
5 or
don't
so
envy you
minutes
tonight, by the
later.
way. I don't envy you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I don't. You know,
I'm already sorry.
don't worry about me tonight. Worry about me tomorrow when I actually
Oh.
start editing this.
Yeah.
My video.
Are you
starts-
just going to cut all this out and we're going to lose the flavor?
No,
the verb?
the less I cut out, the easier it is to edit. So I'm gonna leave. This is all
Oh,
in.
okay. Well, never
This is
mind.
Every moment.
I'll just keep
Exactly.
riffing.
It's like flavoring a fine burger, Josh. You know what I mean?
Sometimes
You
I feel
probably know
like
what I mean.
if I don't edit enough,
But you
it
don't always
makes-
know what's going on in that kitchen.
Deliciousness.
You can't throw out the special sauce.
right, something like that.
They
Hey,
could have some crunchy peanut butter in the back, and
nobody said anything about the back, Josh.
Sebastian, what's on the menu next?
Well, we have a business story from CNN Business here, and I'm sure there's a million links, but this is the one that was in the show notes. Tesla recalls 135,000 cars. Why? Why are they? Is it because they're pushing
Why?
back against regulators? I think that's an unrelated thing. But why are they actually recalling Model S
Well,
and
they're really-
Model
I don't think
X?
they really pushed back on this one that
No,
much.
I don't know what they're talking about here.
It's
But
it's apparently the touch screens, Sebastian. The touch
Is it
screens
now?
were failing, and the National Highway Safety Transfer Board, or whatever NTS, blah, 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 required that the screens be taken care of because that was the only way, apparently. And maybe there's a Tesla owner on the stream. I don't know.
Wait,
maybe there might
You
be.
mean the recall was because of
to
these
control-
bubbles in the top of the screen
No,
that happened
to
all the
control?
time? Like
Well, not necessarily.
But
No,
the-
it was maybe.
it wasn't this.
But it was
like
to-
the goo, literally,
it
it runs
was
out.
not.
It runs out the bottom, Brett. Like it literally like pours out the bottom. on hot
That's
days.
the fact that your goo is running out the bottom is a personal problem and totally separate from the recall issue. The recall issue was
I am
because the
old.
screens were
Void the
failing,
warranty.
and you could not operate the defrosters without the screen. Isn't that right, Tesla owner?
It
Really?
actually wasn't this bubble thing. The bubble thing is
Yes, I know.
also a thing.
I know.
Yeah.
It is a thing. It's a separate thing.
No,
But
it was because literally
a couple
this
of-
whole thing goes blank.
did you
If
have
you
to
miss.
pay to get that screen replaced, Alan, or did they do it under warranty?
No, my car has no warranty.
Oh, okay. I was
Yes.
gonna say, how do
This
you
is-
have the
don't
part
ask.
if they did the work? But
don't ask anything specific about his car because it's freaking
This is why I have a spare, because I literally
Look,
I
a
swapped
few
it
months
out.
ago, Alan got in some trouble because he just kind of took a Tesla out of a Kroger parking
What?
lot and hasn't returned it yet. But he's been doing
Yeah,
special modifications to it, and it's fine.
Oh, it's my
It's a
Tesla.
story.
Oh, it's
Just
yours.
Roll
Oh.
with it.
It's yours. All right. You bought it.
Anyway, yeah.
For
So,
Dogecoin.
the culprit was inside the thing.
Okay. No, but seriously, honestly, what
Not the
happened here
Tegra.
was
The Tegra's over
Right.
here, Brett, but it's
right.
not.
I
it's
wanted to
it's under
blame
heat
the
thing.
NVIDIA Tegra, and I
No,
just
no.
worried for all of the Nintendo owners out there going like, oh my gosh, they're the Switch owners, all their screens are going to fail. But it wasn't the Tegra.
Nope.
GPU.
Nope. It was over here. It's hard to see. To the right
What are you
there.
pointing at? What is it?
The NAND, the flash.
Ooh,
Oh my gosh.
it's like a
my
double
gosh.
whammy of Alan expertise.
The flash. Oh no.
The NAND flash.
How can you just
Alan,
didn't like
was
you know
it right endurance?
uninstall that and reflow
Yeah.
with better NAND?
It was
Put it in
two
the oven.
problems.
Put it in the oven.
It
Okay,
was two
two-
problems.
All right, here we go.
Two problems.
Two problems, my lord.
Camera
Okay,
2.
go ahead.
Although it might not be a problem if you fix the one before you run into the other. So they only put 8 gig of NAND in there. So you'd think that's kind of small. The OS image is like, well, when you download like a firmware update, it's like about a gig. So you would think, even if you got a firmware update every week and you're only writing a gig to it, and it's 8 gig, it's going to take you an awful lot of firmware updates even to sort of write through,
Alan,
do a bunch
Alan,
of drive
didn't
writes.
The cars,
right?
Didn't the cars overlog everything though? Wasn't that part of the
That-
problem?
That is the other part of the problem. So by default, they had like verbose syslog going on, and realize it runs Ubuntu. Like if you see a Tesla Model S or X, it's literally running Ubuntu on this thing. This thing is literally just an Ubuntu Linux computer. But yeah, they had logging going on, and logging going on in combination with, I mean, it's a computer connected via, there's like this, basically there's an Ethernet hub in there. There's an awful lot of networking stuff going on, and there's all sorts of, background noise going on in the car. Just even if the car is parked, like my Model S sitting in the driver right there, there's the syslog is doing writes like multiple times per second, even if it's just one line at a time, a few lines per second, right?
But they patched this. They patched it out after a period of time, didn't they?
They patched it out, but it took them an awful long time, and even like some, folks in the Tesla hacking community just flat out having to come out on YouTube videos just saying, look, turn off your damn logging because you're burning out your NAND, right? That was a big deal. They eventually did turn it off, but damage is already done, right? If you've already
It's too
burned
late.
through a bunch of the write cycles of the NAND, then combine that with the fact that remember, one of the things I used to talk about all the time was like, you want your NAND to be cool while it's not doing anything, but you prefer it to be warm while it's active. But a car environment, you don't really have control over any of that, right? The NAND in my car is almost at freezing right now, but the MCU is still running, and it's still, whatever writes it would be doing would be wearing out that NAND faster in that condition. And then conversely, in the summertime, when the dash gets hot and the MCU gets really hot, right? Whatever data is stored and is not actively being rewritten is likely to drift even faster. Like those voltages are likely to drift quicker because you're just sitting at a hotter temperature. So it's kind of a like worst case scenario for NAND. So there is a way around that, and that's what part of this recall is they're upgrading people to a 64 gig chip instead of an 8 gig chip. So combined with the fact that they've turned off all the crazy logging, you're going to have 8x the endurance, and it's a newer chip. It's probably, rated better anyway than what they started putting in them, 7 years ago, right? So between all that, at least there's a fix.
Well, they certainly had a point, right? Because you lost your backup camera, you lost your ability to defrost your windows, and eventually the entire thing would crash. The entire screen would crash out, right?
Yeah.
I was
and
going to
they
say
had
the car was going to crash.
That's
No,
Well, you lose
Teslas
your
have
review,
multiple
so
ways of crashing.
I'm driving. 20% of your NAND is now invalid.
Yeah, you do lose your air
System
conditioning
lock.
control, your defrost control, like a lot of the other stuff for the car's still drivable because all that stuff is sort of on its own set of microcontrollers that doesn't rely on this thing. To do like driving of the car, and like even some of the autopilot stuff can work if it's an older version without the MCU operating.
So is that a whole board
which is-
replacement they're doing for the?
No, it's
for
like
the
a, it's like
chip?
a. Well, so
It's not
I'm not sure exactly
socketed,
how
is
they
it?
would do it. But yeah, it is. There's a socket.
Oh, it is.
The
Oh.
whole board with the Tegra is socketed. So you can,
Oh,
there's
I
a
see it
couple
now.
of sets
I didn't
screws.
see it before that.
Yeah.
There was a socket off to the right there. Yep.
Yeah, you can pull that out and swap it. They would likely. I mean, I don't know if they're. It sounded like they weren't actually doing them yet, right? Like they needed some time to spin up on it. But they would likely just have those replacement boards, and they would have to do some stuff as far as like backing up the profile and the car data, and like the car keys and all the stuff that's related to the car, and like for security and other stuff, right? They'd have to back up all that stuff off of the image, and then swap out the boards and put all that stuff back to sort of,
Can
you want to move the VIN
Can
over so
you-
your VIN number stays the same and your odometer stays the same
Oh.
and everything.
So can you anarchist Tesla owners, can you take advantage of this fix recall, or how do you deal with it?
The way that recall sounds like it's worded is even those that are out of warranty might be able to do it. Now it's a risk if you're supporting your own car. Some of those folks have sort of
Yeah.
hacked into their own cars.
That's kind
so
of what
that
I was
they can-
talking about. Yeah.
Right. So you can get access to diagnostics and stuff like that, which is handy for me, right? Because if I need to, I have an out of warranty. It was a salvage title car that was rebuilt, right? So Tesla voids the warranty on that because it's a salvage title car. So I'm supporting it myself. So if I need to pull diagnostics, I want to be able to pull it myself, and I don't have Tesla support to do that. So I had to, hack my way into my own car. So yes, that might. If they go in there and they swap that, they're going to update the firmware. Remember, they updated to a version that's harder for the underground guys that want to support their own car to get back into
Yep.
after Tesla's mucked around in there, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So it's just, and now I will say a lot of those folks on the underground for months now have already been doing their own eMMC swaps. Like, I haven't done it on mine, but that's because my car had very low miles on it when I got it and already had logging turned off. And I've since turned it on, but I'm logging to RAM now. I made a small RAM disk, and I just log there so that if I need to look at the syslog for anything, I still can. And if something happened, I can
You
go
didn't
back
replace it
and
with
look.
Optane? I'm shocked and disappointed.
One Optane die is 16 gig, actually twice as much as how much is in here. Just saying. But no. I mean, I might at some point do the swap to a 64 gig part. But yeah, I mean, folks that are supporting their own cars have already been doing this for a while. There's even some people that are doing it like as a service. I think it's like $300 or $500 or something. You don't even have to send the whole thing. Like if you're savvy enough, you take the MCU out of the car,
Yeah.
you pull that daughter board out, and you just send the daughter board out to them. And they have the gear to do the, surface not surface mount, but the, hot air station and everything to do the swapping of the chip. And the guys that know more about what they're doing, because usually you wouldn't have to do this. Well, most people wouldn't do it until they absolutely had to, right? And then you're in a trickier situation because there's data on that chip that you really need to get off to put on the new one that you
Like your
can't
VIN
necessarily.
and stuff like
Well,
that, right?
your VIN, you could make, you could say, okay, what's the VIN, and you could put that back, right? But there's other stuff that's specific to the car that's like, crypto stuff and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Keys. Yep.
Yeah, keys, things like that. And some of those guys have, good stuff where they can take the chip off and like do their best, put it on a dedicated reader, to try to do their best to pull an image off of that chip so that they have something to put on their replacement, right? But sometimes they're so far gone that really the only route is to go to Tesla and say, hey, I need to pay you a lot of money so you can put a new MCU in my car.
Hey, Alan,
But,
Oscar in the
you know.
chat says just toss the WD red in there. And my follow-up question to that is SMR good enough, or do I need to make sure it's a CMR red drive?
I don't know which one's worse.
choice
I don't know how
question.
much. I don't know how much worse SMR would be than an 8 gig, really small drive that was on its way out because you wrote to it too
This
many
is
times
just
for it to connect
eMMC. It seems so sad to me that people would pay hundreds of dollars to have this done. It's a little eMMC chip. How
Yeah, I know.
expensive is this thing? Like it's their.
It's work, right? It's
Well, I
it's
guess
work.
so,
You have to
yeah.
have the equipment to properly do that. Some of those guys have fried boards just even after they've done a few and you figured that they were experienced at it and they've bricked something. So those guys have to have like some spare daughter boards just on hand in case they break something in the process. It's not an easy thing. So I get it. I get why they're charging money. It's a specialized kind of thing.
Some
Also-
of the chat wants
Yeah.
to know how they're mining, how you can mine crypto on the.
Yeah,
on
can
your,
you leverage
On a
your
Tegra?
Tesla?
No,
I don't know.
your
I don't know how
Tesla-
many
What's the
mega
hash
hashes
rate on a Tesla GPU?
I mean, just
hash rate on a Tegra.
sitting in the
For
driveway,
Ethereum.
not being. Yeah, Ethereum hash rate.
Yeah, it'd slow down if you're driving fast, obviously.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about driving because I want like that computation of working on the car rather
The
than
car's a little sluggish while it's at 100%.
Listen, anyone that's used
I've got
the
180
MCU1,
millisecond lag on my wheel turns. and
dude,
Well, I'm hashing crypto, man.
anyone that's used the original like the OG, MCU1 before they updated to the whatever the heck's in the new one, right, which is not Tegra. The Tegra one, even though Tegra is known for being reasonably fast graphics, when you combine it with Tesla's implementation of Qt, which is just the graphical interface that they've laid in on top of Ubuntu, I don't know if it's just there's no acceleration coded in or something, but it's
No,
bad.
QT
It's
is
like-
not all that efficient, so it's not their fault.
Well, yeah, but they're using the same thing even on the like Model 3 and the Model Y, which have some Intel SoC in there with like integrated graphics on it, and it's still vastly faster. Like it almost doesn't make sense. Like it can't be like a Tegra versus Intel graphics. Like they should at least be similar in performance if they were accelerated the same way, right? So I think it's just
but
there was
isn't
a
like
lack of
automotive stuff that they've got a whole bunch more things that it's got to do that like one of the cores can't go down at any one time, and so they have to swap things out and just.
Oh no, that's different. That's different. This is just the entertainment process.
Oh, okay. Well, nah,
Right.
never mind then.
And it's not the newer autopilot stuff like where you see that they have to have 2 dedicated processors for redundancy and failover and all that other stuff. That's a different board than what is the entertainment board, even in the newer Teslas. So that the entertainment thing is a completely, the board driving the screen is completely different than the autopilot stuff. So there's in fact multiple computers, regular like computers in the newer ones. This one just has, I don't know. Well, fun fact, the older ones, this is a whole Ubuntu system, and then the instrument cluster is another entire Ubuntu system that you can SSH into.
Well,
like-
sure.
Yeah, with another Tegra in it. So maybe you could have double your kilo hashes worth of Ethereum mining that
Right.
you might be able to do, or something.
Oh, there's probably
before
some
it overheats.
eMMC over there, by the way, too. Which might
There is
eventually-
there is,
horrifying,
but
yeah.
there's a lot less. There was a lot less stuff going to the log on that, so
Hmm.
there was less of a worry about that going away. It's more likely to drain out its liquid out of it, just like this guy. I didn't grab my old instrument cluster, but it had it looked like a fish tank. It was
Great.
interesting.
That's bad.
Hey, Sebastian, I just want you to note that was like 1 hour into topic 1. So if you feel like you
sorry.
need to
Hey,
skip
no,
around on
we started
something-
the show at 10:33, 10:34 Eastern time, and it's only 10:57, so we're only about
Okay.
24 minutes in.
Alrighty then.
It's fine. That's normal. 20-minute
We
topics.
get a new Patreon?
Let's roll with it then. Hey, you know what? How did you know that? Because there is actually 2 people dialed into our Patreon and became members. Alan is back. Is one of our new patron members. So, hey, thanks for that.
But
I don't know
I'm
how much
not.
back he is.
I'm
He's
only
here
just-
tonight.
I heard there was
It might be
Tesla
like
stuff,
a-
so I showed
Yeah, he's
up.
like, hey, you guys are going to do
Maybe
Tesla.
like a
'Cause you
one
know
night
what?
only?
Because Alan subscribes to the mailing list, and he's notified when we're going to go live.
See,
And Brett puts some of the show topics in there to kind of tease you. Hey, we're going to talk about this stuff tonight. And Alan's like, I want to talk about stuff.
You know,
Yeah,
I had
and-
no idea.
And
that
Alan's
was gonna,
wife is like, oh, I would love it if you go in there and podcast tonight. And, you know,
Like,
not
go in
spend-
the room.
She's like,
Oh, could you
get out of here.
please?
Go.
Please
Go
go
away.
away.
Yeah,
from
please.
Go
Please do
away.
your show.
Don't rush
We had another
back.
member. Hold up.
Look,
We had
I've been
another
with you for
member.
7 years. Give me a break and go podcast.
You saw the
that's true.
anniversary note as well.
I
Good
promise
for
you
guys.
do this every Wednesday.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
I was
Alan.
doing this
Uh,
every Wednesday when she and I got together.
Wait,
Yeah,
is this how you're
That's
celebrating your
part of the
anniversary right
deal,
now?
wasn't it?
It's almost
We're-
an
no,
anniversary.
it's not.
Hey, babe, remember? This is what, yeah. Happy
Awesome.
anniversary.
It's great.
You raise a beer. Yeah.
One other member that we just got on the Patreon is the Clap. I'm not sure what that means. It's 2 P's, so I'm just gonna let it go with that. So thank you very much, both of you guys.
Cheers.
Binky says pick up the pace,
Okay.
I'm sure.
and he's not
Says
talking
the
about
Tesla
not
owner
based
leaning
off.
back in his chair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
mostly in frame in the wide shot where we're all in these squares. Now he's out of frame. Yeah,
Now he's out of
hand.
frame. He's
Okay.
done.
All right.
Just wants to show all his swag.
I know. Look at all that stuff back there.
Intel lean.
Video
It's just whatever
viewers can pause
Stuff.
right here and see.
stuff.
Got wafers.
Oh,
I've
here we
got
go. Here's the
storage,
tour.
I've got. Oh my god! I've never seen
over
that.
there.
Oh, Legos. Well, that makes
Legos,
sense.
more Legos. Is whatever.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
Was
Lego's
that a
cool.
James Bond car at the bottom?
Yeah,
Wait, the Lego
ejector
one?
seat.
The Lego
Think
Aston
so.
Martin?
yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay,
You pull on
guess
the
we're not gonna see
bumper
that
and the
again.
passenger seat ejects. It's pretty cool.
Sweet. Those are not cheap. I was looking at one of those at Target the other day.
Well, I pull on my bumper, and well,
With peanut butter? With crunchy peanut butter?
And it comes off.
Hey, for no particular reason, let's move to the next news topic, which involves storage. So I'm sure that
Hey,
at
why
least
not?
one member of our panel who's barely done any
I
talking
haven't
to
read
this
it.
point.
I haven't read anything about this.
Okay,
I
so
don't-
Synology, as Jeremy reports, in one of his punniest titles in recent memory,
I gotta agree with that.
Synology pulls some NAS-T self-validation from under its hat 5300. he
Oh my
says.
god, it's like so punny.
All right, so what is happening here?
Did you realize that Synology was a hard drive maker?
No.
Not today.
No, neither did anyone else on the planet.
backplate
because
breaker?
not.
No. This is news to me
What?
as well.
Okay.
So
right,
the,
so what'd
the
they do?
HAT 5300 series is a brand new series of Synology branded discs. Thankfully made by Toshiba. So they are there. They start at 8 terabyte and go to 12 and 16 terabyte. At the same time that they released this onto the world, they mentioned that, by the way, any of our new enterprise level NAS appliances, you're only going to be able to use our new drives in, because we're designing the firmware, and the NAS is going to check, and if it doesn't have our custom firmware on it, and just to be nice, we picked one drive from each of Seagate, Western Digital, and Toshiba, one family from each that will be able to work, except they top out at 4 terabytes. They don't have any family members larger than 4 terabytes. So if you're looking for an enterprise NAS and you're shopping for 4 terabytes or more, which if you're buying a brand new NAS at this point, you bloody well are, you are going to have to buy one of these brand new HAT 5300 drives from Synology, which we have no idea about the reliability about. We have no idea about the availability because Toshiba might not put them at the very front of their manufacturing line. So you might bloody well be stuck waiting for drives to swap into this thing if you can even get enough to populate the damn thing in the first place.
Recently, get out of the drive space.
Sort
Or was it
yeah.
just SSDs?
Mostly SSDs, but I think they're also looking at partitioning off their hard drive stuff, and this is strictly hard drive stuff. There is a silver lining, which is that, according to the PR from Synology, their firmware in combination with these new NAS families will give you about 20-25% better sequential read performance. Not completely ridiculous because you are building the entire software side of it, but I mean, the enterprise NAS business is a very large business, and launching a brand new product, and the first thing you're saying is, oh, and by the way, you can only buy these and populate it with these drives that no one's heard of if you want more than 4 terabytes per drive. So yeah, I think this is another MBA walking into a meeting saying that I've got this win-win scenario for you. There's no way this can horribly go wrong and bite us in the ass.
Yeah, this is like printer ink, but for NASs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Al Bundy
kinda-
just
it
mentioned
kinda-
it in the chat.
And oh, did somebody like it? It doesn't even compute to me like, okay, if they're getting increase in sequential read by 23%, I can't imagine what's unique about the drive firmware that's going to somehow enable that. Like, you would be able to get that sequential performance out of that drive anywhere.
Regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter what you plug it into. So if there was an increase in performance by 23%, it's probably because there was some issue with their own performance before, like Synology's performance before. For
Yeah,
that
on the
type
NAS
of
side.
Right.
workflow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, why does it take custom
Right.
firmware to increase throughput of a standard interface?
Well, and
And
also,
hard drives right now are pretty well
essentially went
figured out.
bankrupt, right?
well, and
Which-
if all the other drives are limited to 4 terabytes, of course they're going to be at least 23% faster in a straight line because the drives are
Wait.
2 or 3x the capacity. So of course they're going to go faster.
Yeah.
Josh, who
Right.
is essentially bankrupt? Wait, what is this?
Quiznos. The sub
brother.
shops, they had the really funny advertisement, and then suddenly they dropped from like 800 stores down to 20. And it's because if you open a franchise, you had to buy all of your supplies from the Quiznos
Supplier.
group.
Yeah.
So-
Whatever group they
Yeah,
had.
they were paying 25 to 30% more for the basic goods of meat, bread, all that through the Quiznos reseller. And so, they made all these great sandwiches and great commercials, and they were really good stuff. But nobody could make any money in the franchises because they could only buy their supplies from one group.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's bad.
insane.
Which is why I can't get my peppercorn, roast beef sandwich toasted.
They don't exist
Anymore.
anymore.
You don't. Is this the reason you're not eating healthy anymore? You're eating
I
those
don't think
burgers.
that's the
Yes, the Quiznos peppercorn.
Well, yeah, if
sandwich was
it
so
weren't for
healthy.
Quiznos cutting down to 20 stores, Josh wouldn't be eating the stuff he does every week.
Yes.
He does it for us.
This
He
is
does
why
it
the
for
burger thing
fans.
started. I get it. Okay.
We're not sure why it started.
I think
'Cause he
Brett
was
and I
born in a
both saw
barn.
the same comment in YouTube at the same time. There's some entertaining commentary during this live stream. I'll leave it at
I'm
that.
still baffled by the Synology thing. That really surprised me coming
Yeah.
from them because they,
Now,
you know.
so it's not going to be their consumer stuff because Synology makes great stuff. Their software
Enterprise.
is very slick and
I mean, I could get like if they would only support it with certain drives or something,
Huh?
right? Like it's an enterprise part. We validate it. We have specs on it. In order to meet these specs, you have to choose from this list of supported things. Like that's an enterprisey kind of, Jeremy, Josh, like you're used to that, right? Some enterprise piece of gear. There's a list, of accepted things
Oh,
that you
yeah.
can plug into it and support it,
Yeah.
right? That's expected. That's fine. But to just go as far as like, oh no, we're basically only going to whitelist, just this one model if you want more than 4 terabytes. That's
Dell is not
kind
going
of
to come out with an appliance that only accepts Dell drives.
well, you
they're
say
smarter
that.
than
You say
so
that.
that's the thing.
Well,
Well,
how
we'll
many
see. That
ideas?
goes
well for Synology.
Let's talk about power supplies, shall we?
Oh well,
Wow.
yeah, okay, you've got me
yeah,
there.
yeah, that's true.
Fucking
But, like,
proprietary
there is-
ass,
there is a
stupid
parallel to
ATX
that, right?
power
Because-
supply.
Because Dell has done things like where they would have a server and they would have or Dell or HP would have their own, branded variant of some enterprise SSD, even
Yeah.
something like that. Right? That happens all the time, and they might even go as far as to say, "Look, we're only validating this with this thing because we had to go and ask whoever the company is that makes it to make a variant of it with different firmware for what our requirements." Right? So that's a thing too, but there's nothing stopping you from plugging in the other thing, right? You can still plug in the regular version of whatever that part is as opposed to the Dell branded version, and it's still going to work. So
Yeah.
that's what's totally different from this. This is like very much like printer ink. You know, we're,
Yeah,
we're
'cause,
going
I
to
mean, it
actively
was
try
a-
to stop you from. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to
this is
stop
a
you from
lock-in.
actually using them. Yeah, it's a lock.
Because I've used Dell ones where it's a bastardized mix of Seagate, Toshiba, and Western Digital, and it doesn't care. Some of which have come directly from the repair depot at Dell.
Now that they were showing was an SSD, but that's not.
Yep.
They're limiting hard disks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just
Yes.
googled the Synology, SATA
Yeah, yeah,
drives,
yeah.
and that's what I came up with. But I didn't know they even had spinning Rust drives at all.
What, Toshiba?
They're
Yeah,
No,
Toshiba has,
Synology. Synology.
and they're
Well,
cost
they do
effective
now.
for certain purposes, just like tape still is.
But it sounds like they just rebranded Toshiba drives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that's
just
that's what's
Toshiba
drives
yeah,
with
yeah.
their label on them. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're not technically making them. They just asked Toshiba to do
Oh, I see.
some tweaks or something.
But hey, they're
Yeah.
tweaking the firmware
with custom
to
firmware. yeah.
maximize the performance and really drive the overall experience.
Well, and don't get me wrong, there may very well be some performance tweaks in the firmware, but you can't just stop people from plugging in. I have a bunch of HGST 12 terabyte drives. If I bought that thing, those are enterprise, HE12s. They should work, right? Shouldn't be that big of a deal. They're enterprise rated. It should be just fine. But if I plug them
No,
into
I
that,
just-
it sounds like that thing will not accept them.
I sent the last set of Enterprise X, I think they're Enterprise anyway, X300 Toshiba 12 terabyte drives back into Kioxia 4.5 months ago, and I'm still waiting for a refund
Lovely.
for being bad. All three of them went bad.
I can
Nice.
confirm that. I can
There's
confirm
my
that
endorsement of Toshiba
35
drives.
I can confirm that 35 12 terabyte HGST drives have been running for a couple of years without a single failure
I believe you.
because they're in my basement.
There's something magical about
I-
Alan's basement.
I love HGST drives, and it made me very, very
My basement
sad
is
when they cut them.
self-warming.
Yep.
Not
You
to
can still
mention
find them on
the
eBay.
garage
It's actually a
ceiling
Oh.
is self-warming.
no. They're on the workbench in the garage now.
Oh, okay. Well, never
I,
mind.
I replaced the garage electric space heater with some GPUs.
See,
Uh,
and
Josh.
look,
Garage one.
GPUs
Josh,
make
whenever you're
great
ready, somebody
heaters.
wrote you a song in Discord.
Oh no!
Whenever
Yep.
you're ready.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrote who
It's
a
right
song?
here. It is.
Do you want to
Yep.
recite
Josh.
it to us?
Oh,
No,
my
no, I
I
don't.
goodness.
like big power
No, I
supplies,
know.
and I cannot lie. Though other wattages
That-
can deny that when a case walks in by UPS and drops a pallet on your desk, you get sprung. Want to power up because you notice the drive was stuffed.
Oh,
Deep in the blow.
God.
BIOS, he's swearing.
no.
I'm stuck and I can't stop flashing. Oh, maybe I want to get with Tesla and make more Bitcoin. Trailer Park Boys try to. I can't do this anymore because
You were
I
you were
can't rhyme.
there was a flow there for a minute, and
Yeah.
then
You had it.
for a minute,
You had
but
it.
then,
you lost the
he
flow.
went off the rails.
it's because
You
Yeah.
tried good, Mr. Am. You tried good,
Yeah,
but
he-
it's
Josh screwed it up. It's nothing wrong with nothing wrong
Yeah,
with your writing.
nothing wrong with the lyrics.
whatever.
Performer.
No, she
It's
got
all my problem.
She got a pack much flash. So fellas, yeah. Has your tower got the watts? Hell yeah.
see you were
There's,
so close. to
there's
the end,
also a
too.
mention of a Star
That's
Wars
close.
character by name, so we cannot
Well,
speak
yeah,
that.
we
or
probably
Disney
shouldn't
will.
say
Oh
that.
yeah,
Well, it's a good thing we skipped over that then.
Got it going like Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, that rhymes.
Super flagged. No, now we are. Now there's a problem.
Yeah, you know what? I saw somebody had done a render of like Darth Banks, like as a much more muscular, mean-looking Jar Jar. I like that character
evil-looking.
model. Yeah, but
Yeah.
think about it. What if they had encountered this creature and he was like really tough-looking and he didn't speak like he did in the movie, and he'd be a lot better character. But then,
Like if he was literally anything other than what he was.
if he was just different, like if they completely rewrote the character and had a different character model for him, and a different voice, and everything else.
Tech
feel
Yes
like the theory was
City,
a Sith Lord.
a YouTube tech channel out of Australia, had a custom PC built, I want to say about 2 years ago, that was custom painted as Darth Jar Jar. It was great.
What is next on our list of topics? This
I don't know if you
evening?
can manage to get to it. It's a new PCIe 4.0 NVMe from
AdLink?
What?
an AdLink.
It's
Yep.
using
It's,
a Phison controller.
It's got Alan's favorite controller, I think. Anyway, so the
Yeah,
Phison.
he said it. He
Phison-
said it on the show.
Here.
He said, "I love Phison. They're my favorite."
Phison is the
And I
Phison
cannot lie.
is the new SanDisk.
No
Is
SSD controllers can deny.
So
the
Phison
flash
is the new
gets in
SanForce.
with that itty bitty bit. And
Remember
that
when I
TLC
did
gets
that-
in your face, you get
Come on,
sprung.
Jesus.
the decoder ring.
Gosh,
can't-
I thought you were done.
gotta
Yeah.
do
Remember
this
the old
anymore.
SSD decoder ring?
That
Where,
was
like,
a
an
valuable
entire
resource. It's
page-
great. Yes.
Like an entire page of it was dedicated to only the variants of the SandForce controller, and
Yeah,
it was in
yes.
like 20
Oh,
different brands.
pages.
Yeah, it was like ridiculous, and they were all, and basically all of those drives had the same exact performance, right? Oh, he's got.
Wait, what is this? You have a SandForce that
Neptune
near? Oh,
6G?
I know why. Because it's OWC.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
Brett,
on the other. I got this one right next to it, which is a.
Which you also
Brett,
bought
I
at,
hope you don't-
MaxSales.com.
I did
I
not.
hope you don't
Yes,
have
you
anything.
did. Don't
No, I didn't.
lie on the podcast.
Behind me, I've
Brett, I
got
hope-
an Intel SandForce-based SSD, so don't make me
That's
go
true.
get it.
Even Intel did it. That's right. Everybody
my
used
gosh.
SandForce
Oh.
back in the day.
Here's the thing: there were some bugs in that SandForce firmware, so be careful with your data on the SandForce controller.
I hope no one
Like,
is still
I had-
using a SandForce drive.
I had two of them break on me. Like, they just go like one away, wouldn't come back. But happy to say that they're not in anything anymore, so I don't have to keep warning people. But if you have old stuff on it, you definitely make a backup.
Alan, I know,
You know.
I know it'll shock you, but the only SSD I've had die on me that I can remember was an OCZ, which is just totally
Which
uncharacteristic.
90% chance, 90% chance had a SandForce controller in it.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
That's funny because I've still got it in one of my test machines downstairs that the kids are using. It's got the OCZ 256 gig. Well, it's
Yep.
less than that, but yeah, it was
It was like
from
a
years
250.
ago, and
Yeah,
it's
they-
still going strong.
Like
The
the,
Vertex.
Oh, I've
Vertex.
still got an H1
Yeah.
rocking away too. And
It was a Vertex 3.
Yep.
I think when mine was
Trust
agility.
the old Vertex 3. Yep. And then there was the Agility, which had the different NAND in it. I think it was Toshiba NAND.
Mm-hmm.
Toggle
And
mode.
what was what was
It's
that
still
later
going.
Bigfoot drive? Not,
What about the
oh,
Bigfoot drive?
was it Bigfoot? What was the not who was the different controller who originally came out?
Barefoot.
And they were pretty good. Barefoot.
yeah.
Yeah, barefoot, not
yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And OCZ
You're
had
thinking of those
one.
5.25 inch hard
Vector?
drives.
Was that it? Vector?
Vertex.
No, Vertex.
There was Vertex and Vector. Yep. Vertex and Vector.
Yeah, it was
Vertex
Vector.
was the SandForce.
SandForce.
Vector was the. Yeah. Vector
The
was
Barefoot.
the Barefoot. Wasn't that like Barefoot 3 or something? Barefoot 2, Barefoot 3?
Something
Yeah, it
like
takes you
that.
back.
Something like that.
And then there was good old
The
J
reason we
Micron.
needed that decoder ring.
J Micron with the stuttering.
Did those old controllers like the J Micron have their own DRAM, or was that? I want to say the Barefoot had DRAM, right? Or
Most
no?
of them had DRAM back then.
Okay.
DRAMless wasn't as much of a thing. This drive right here has DRAM, which is good to see that they didn't try to go DRAMless on that one.
Yeah,
That's
like the
the
one that
performance
DDR4
Town did.
cache.
Did you look at the performance graphs that they
Well,
did?
I mean, the straight line
it's
speeds
right
are
up
very
there.
impressive. Look at this ad link. if you
Very
watch the
impressive.
video.
That's not bad.
7,000
It's above a
megabytes per
980
second
Pro.
in Crystal Dismark sequential. And this is, of course, QDEP 8, single thread.
Yeah,
let's
so-
see here.
Here's,
I mean,
here's
now,
my beef with
unfortunately-
Crystal Dismark. You ready?
Oh well.
There
Uh-oh.
are
Yeah.
there are results there that are good that you can get out of Crystal Dismark, but don't go with the. Wait, scroll back up.
Okay, hold on.
Crystal Dismark gives you like 1 megabyte transfer size QDEP 1, which is actually legit because that's what a Windows file copy does, right?
Right,
But the
QD1,
catch
yes.
is- 1 megabyte at QDEP 1, but then it does like 8 threads or something
Yeah.
with one of its workloads, which is like how often are you doing 8 file copies at the same time? and all to and from like the same drive at the same time? That seems kind of excessive. I mean, I'm a storage crazy guy, and I don't do 8 file copies at the same time. So anyway, in other words, stick with like the 1 thread worth of stuff at a time, because that's a little closer to what you could actually be doing, right? And then the same thing for the random, right? Like the
Yeah.
Crystal Disk Mark does 2 different types of random I/O. One of them is reasonable. It's like QDepth 1 single thread. But then there's another one that's like QDepth 32 8 threads, which is like enterprise gear
Right.
has a hard time even hitting that, right? So yes, it is a way to get the really high numbers, and it's a way to show off the maximum ultimate performance of the drive. But the point is, like, you're using your computer for regular stuff. You don't get anywhere near that. Even doing crazy stuff like Linux, like kernel compiles and stuff like that, like the Q might get up to 8, max. So
You obviously have not played Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020.
No, obviously.
What about
That's probably
Anvil?
doing a lot of
It's
sequential.
ancient, Alan, but I mean, do you get anything useful out of that?
no, Anvil has like half the numbers in Anvil are Q1.
Okay,
Right?
yeah,
Now
that's true.
the transfer size is a bit on the high side for the sequential because it does like 4 megabyte, which is
Yeah.
kind of up there because again Windows just does a 1 megabyte transfer size, but it's not insane. But what gets insane is when you have like the well, you can even tell by looking at those on the left column there, right? The highest it goes is QDepth 16, right? So that's absolutely pushing it, but at least it's a single thread and it's within the realm of something that might happen. You'd really have to push the system to get there, but you could get there.
Tweaktown
you
did
know,
do
but-
a PC Mark 10 loading as well, which is kind of like a synonymous with a standard usage scenario.
It's kind of
Loading or the
trace-based, isn't
storage
it?
test?
Oh,
Which
if you
test
scroll
was it?
down,
There's a-
you'll see they did a full system disk storage benchmark, and it showed
Oh,
up
okay.
slightly under the 980 Pro.
Yeah, so that's a pretty comprehensive test. It's PC Mark 10's storage test, which came out like a year ago. So there used to be PC Mark 10 that you would run, just regular PC Mark 10 suite, and it would do like a bunch of application launches, and like it would actually do the things. You would see the things happening on the screen as the test was running, and at the end it would give you like kind of a responsiveness-ish kind of score, like launch time kind of score. But the catch with that test was that it ran like multiple times without a reboot. Like it ran the test multiple times in a row, and so by the time you ran everything through the first cycle, everything was like cached in the memory of the system. So it wasn't really a good SSD test. Now the PC Mark 10 storage benchmark is a good SSD test, right? Or just storage test in general, because it's doing trace-based playback right to the SSD or whatever it is that you're testing, and it's really latency sensitive, so it definitely shows off SSDs that are more responsive and have lower latencies and stuff like that. There's a full test, and then there's also a quick test. Now I don't know if he also ran the quick test. Usually he does both, I think. There's 3 results for each test, so there's the third chart, and then see if there's another chart below it, I guess.
The quick is below this one.
Oh yeah, here's quick.
Yeah, so there you
it
go.
is.
Now, the differentiator between those 2 types of tests, because even the benchmark itself doesn't do a good job of explaining it, is that the full test has a large amount of data that it's kind of cycling through, even more data than I would typically cycle through, like doing a bunch of kind of heavy usage. It's like 150 or 200 gig worth of a data set that it's combing all the way through, and it does that 3 times. Whereas the quick test is something more like 20 or 40 gigabytes worth of data that it's going through, and so it's a bit more realistic for doing regular stuff on a computer. So I usually just focus on the quick test when I'm trying to evaluate things and see what's faster than what. So it's a decent test. Of all the tests that are out, it's one of the better ones because it does. There's a setting like before you go to start the test, you'll see that there's a checkbox, and I think it's already checked, and that's it. It puts its own power plan in place, and that power plan emulates the system being active and doing stuff. So part of the issue trying to benchmark storage is that if you run a synthetic storage benchmark, the system isn't doing actual other work while it's accessing the SSD. And sometimes the power management from the system interferes with the scores of the benchmark. So your benchmark results might be like 10 or 20% lower than expected, or than they should be, because the system is literally trying to idle while the test is running.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
the
there's just not
excuse I
enough
gave my wife, and she didn't take that at all.
So that PCMark 10 storage test has this, it spins off a copy of the power plan that you were running on, and it tweaks it in such a way that it makes the CPU fully active, and it only switches to that while the requests are going to the SSD. So it's basically pretending, it's emulating the CPU also being active while the SSD is being hit with storage. So you get results that are, a little bit more representative and not interfered with from the power management of the system.
Well,
So
the
it's
good
handy.
news
It's,
is if you unwind this, you can say that the ad link with the Phison S90 or the S95 with the Phison controller coming in and sometimes equal to or relatively above 980 Pro could be a reasonably good buy
Well,
if it's priced right.
There's the problem. It also comes in
What?
above the competition on that. The 2 terabyte they tested,
Yeah.
about $445 when they
What?
posted the review.
Okay.
How much is
too
this?
high.
Prices are all messed up right now. Like you don't know what it would be in a normal year.
What's
It's
the because Samsung just released a 2 terabyte
Okay, so
of
1
the,
terabyte Samsung is $250. So yeah, it's going to be
This is
$450,
two-
$500.
227, Jeremy, for the one.
Yeah.
227 for the one. So that's actually a good buy at the one. But
Yes, the
445
2 is
Actually, 445 might be a little
Yeah.
below.
Honestly,
the 90
if you
Pro.
find it on sale for 4, go for nuts. But
What happened to
for
1010?
That's near PCIe 3.0
yeah,
range is
a
$400
lot of
bucks
PCIe
for a
4s
2
are
tera.
though.
No,
What?
I'm sorry. I'm smoking crack. I saw
Yeah.
the ADATA
10 cents a gig.
PCIe 3.0 4 terabyte for $389. So yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Less than 10 cents a gig.
Yeah,
Right?
do it.
Like-
do it. Do it.
That's
And honestly, for day-to-day usage, you're not going to notice much difference. Although running
Well,
a
save the
PCIe 4
money.
drive, I still
Save
love
the
it.
money.
in that review with the
Have
Gen
you
4
played
drive.
Microsoft Flight Simulator 20?
again.
So hold on. In that what was that last review you were looking at? The Tweaktown one? Before that? Oh, I mean, you can. That's Les's review, I think.
Yeah,
but
I'm trying to find out how much this 2 terabyte 980 Pro actually is, but
right. So were in those PCMark results you were looking at before, were there any Gen 3 drives in there? Like, I'm curious just to how much further down did they fall compared to
oh, here's
these
a
Gen 4
a
drives?
black SN850s Gen 4.
That's Gen
980
4.
Pro.
That's Gen 4.
The
Rocket
Gamix
Plus.
S5. That's
I think the Gamix
that's,
Fire
is
CUDA
Sky
520
4.
is. These are all Gen 4.
Rocket Q. No, they're all
Okay.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all Gen
Screw
4.
that.
Well, Sabrent 4
See-
isn't.
See, I'd be
Yeah, it is.
I'd like to know, like, what does like a 970 Evo Plus or something do in that, right? Like, you might be surprised how close those numbers are to
I
what
wouldn't
you
be.
can get out of Gen 4 drives in that test, right? Because again, that
No, I
test
know
is
that
doing a
they're
trace
close.
playback. Yeah, it's more media limited than it is bus limited at Gen 3 speeds. So
Like you said, if you're doing stupidly deep Q depths, you'll notice a difference. If you are recording, 8K video and trying to move that shit around, you'll notice a difference.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe if you're playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, you might. But
got to appease Josh.
That's the word on the street.
Gots to.
That's
I haven't tried it yet. I probably
do like
should now.
I do wonder how hard the Flight Simulator hits the disc. Like, I wonder like how high the Q actually gets. It probably doesn't get that high.
What is it
you know,
now, Josh? Only
probably
like
not.
$600?
No, it's primarily just streaming data off the internet.
Right.
But you can
Well,
create a cache. For
yeah, there is a local
locality,
cache
so-
option. Yeah.
Or cache.
Yeah, and I mean it probably hits it reasonably hard, but I mean think of so the cache size you can set, it's adjustable. Like I've seen people set it to like 4 like what? How many gig or whatever.
You could 8
I don't know.
is standard, and then 16 is what I like set mine to. But yeah, no, it's it's probably not hitting
So-
it very hard. I'm just being
Right. So think about that. Like even at a
Dang.
low Q depth, even at a low Q depth sequential transfer, you're still going to do a gig or 2 per second. So you can read your entire cache in like 5
In 8
seconds, 8
seconds.
seconds.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's assuming like worst case, right? So yes, if it ramped up the queue, you might shave a few seconds off of that, but you know, you're reading it pretty quick anyway, right? Even at Gen 3
Yeah.
speeds, heck, even at Gen 2 speeds. Anyway,
But as we
Yeah.
know from Cyberpunk on Xbox,
Wait, Cyberpunk comes later.
loading
We're
up
gonna have a little
textures and that. Yeah. no.
No, we are going to
We're
talk
a
about that.
little-
Okay. Speaking of things to talk about, Brett, you wanted to talk about Intel Xe graphics for some reason.
You know, only because I'm not sure that everybody understood that this was. There was some talk last week about whether or not, hey, are you going to be able to plug this into only Intel boards, or what was the deal? People, they had perhaps interpreted this as a move on Intel's part to lock them to
To pull a
only
Synology?
their boards. No, exactly, and it's not really that. It's really what it's almost it's a technical necessity, simply because of the way the board boots. And Alan, you may actually know some particulars about this, and could lend
I know
a,
nothing.
Oh well, it's actually it's because of the pedigree of the part. I believe it's a laptop the GPU that's been essentially separated from the host CPU in silicon and pulled apart and rehomed onto its own device. But it can't legitimately boot properly without a firmware launch, and that firmware is really only available on Intel chipsets in a particular way that instantiates the CPU and gets it configured so that the rest of the system can access it. So it isn't something that Intel did on purpose to lock it out from particular boards. It's legitimately something that was unfortunately technically locked to their silicon. And that's just the way that it is.
I think that also means that you couldn't even plug it into an older Intel system that didn't have the.
Nope.
That's
firmware.
correct. It's
It's
I
only
want to say it's
11th gen.
9th, 10th. I thought it was 9th, 10th, 11th, but yeah.
Well, okay. I'm getting this from Cybercat 2077 on Twitter. I
Okay,
saw this
that
the
might
other
not
day,
be
but-
quite right, but
But you know, it's,
I
according
am-
to him,
I am sure.
or them,
I am sure that it is not single generation. I'll only give you that. I'm not sure how far back it goes,
here-
but I can tell you for sure
here
it's not single generation.
here was the explanation, regardless of generation. The firmware
yes.
stored on the motherboard. The reason the Xe Max chip was originally designed for laptops, as you just said, doesn't have the SPI lanes to connect an EEPROM directly on the car.
Oh well, that makes sense.
Makes
so then
sense.
it doesn't even have a BIOS, like
Yes,
its own
that's correct.
firmware.
Yeah.
It has to
So
get it
it's-
from
No,
the
I mean, as
system
far
back.
as I understood, they literally went snap, and the GPU became discrete.
There are dependencies. You need to have the total platform for the GPU to work because the GPU is part of a platform. So that makes sense.
Correct.
Which
And
means
it wasn't
is
a
it still
slight-
harnessing system memory? It's not going to have its own dedicated. I guess it could have its own dedicated RAM. Like it could have
It
a
could.
cache.
It does.
Okay.
You could
It
have
has
its
RAM.
own RAM lanes. Yep.
Yeah, it's got 4 gigs.
It just doesn't have EEPROM.
No.
Let's
But
pause.
some people have perceived this as a slight, so yes.
Yes.
Let's
Let's pause
pause.
right here to hear from our podcast sponsor this week.
Thank you to Helix Sleep.
And yeah, we'll edit in Brett reading the ad later.
I will. I will.
I would have to salvage my Helix Sleep footage from last time because I had to like cut together some like stuff
You
from
know,
their website.
it's
and
not the
stuff.
first time that PC Per has been sponsored by a sleep better company, and I honestly.
Oh, you mean like our ill-fated My Pillow sponsorship fell through suddenly?
That
No,
might have
that
been
didn't
one of
really ever
them,
happen.
but you know,
It was Casper back in the day, right?
Yeah, well, the Helix Sleep thing is I've been trying it out for a while, and it's been actually a pretty good experience. So
By the way, the next story when we come back, I had this on the last podcast. I actually cut in this exact Extreme Tech article in the finished show.
oh, you did.
ET phone
I
home?
apologize.
We talked about them
If you want to
starting
skip
up
over it,
2060
that's fine.
Oh, I'm gonna skip over it.
God, we gotta
Oh.
keep moving because we're so far
Yeah,
behind. We think we're
do.
ahead.
Brett, I'm gonna skip over it. I'm thinking about
You do.
Boomtang. That's a little
You do
Strangers with
that.
Candy reference there for anybody who remembers that show. All right. And thank you to Helix Sleep and Brett for that marvelous ad read. As we move on to our next story, our very next story on the list, not skipping anything, something about Warhammer 3. Jeremy, please.
Yeah. No, I really like just as a Warhammer fan myself. Yes, I'm annoying. I know that it's part of what comes along with it, but they've done a beautiful thing. Creative Assembly with the Total War Warhammer. They released the first one, which was just limited to the old world, and then when they released the second one, they said, you know what? We're focusing on this, so you're gonna have to play it for a month or two, but after that, we're just gonna bolt it onto Warhammer 1. And so now you can play across the entire map in a much bigger campaign. And that looks like exactly what they're going to be doing with Warhammer 3. You will start out at release playing with the faraway region of Cathay, which leads to all sorts of interesting ogre kingdoms, chaos dwarves. They also put a little bit of, attention towards Kislev on the trailer. So if you really like riding polar bears into war, that might be a faction you'll enjoy. And all 3 Chaos Gods are there, so, they better not be doing the Age of Smegma. I will get pissed. But chances are, within a month or two after release, they're going to bolt on another part to the gigantic world map that makes up the world of Warhammer. And you'll be able to play across the entire bloody planet. Which is good and bad because, it's already pretty insanely large to try and handle. But, by adding this, it's going to add some more depth. And it means that you don't lose any of the previous... Hey, Nurgle, doing pretty well this year. You're not going to lose any of the previous stuff that you bought. Your DLC is still going to work. Your old races are still going to work. You're just going to have a new playground that's a little bit bigger to do it in, just as he planned. And then, if you like cornflakes, he's there too. So I just love the idea of 3 generations of games, which they're not dropping any of the content from the previous games, they're just bolting it on and bolting it on and bolting it on. Sometime late this year, if you're wondering.
Thank you.
Nobody else cares. I can.
Well, I was...
There'll be a fan fiction of this later, though.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I was just waiting for the
Well, it probably
gameplay of that
already is.
trailer, and it was beautiful visually, but I was confused about what the gameplay was going to be like.
Now,
Real-time strategy.
This next one, we did mention this next time, or previous time, but this is people have actually gotten these in hand, and
Oh, sure,
the horror show is playing out in real time. So that
Okay,
was the
so
point.
the topic last week, and we're echoing it, is that the RTX notebook processors, and we talked about the fact that the 3070 and 3080 were out. Max-Q branding is gone, but now it's a feature set, which includes other technologies. They're calling it Max-Q. The big issue is that before, Max-Q was something that helped you differentiate the thin and light variant that had a lower TDP ceiling versus the one meant for the bigger gaming laptops that could have a higher TDP, higher clocks, better performance. So the 3060 on mobile apparently is the same deal, right? Because there's a range of TDPs, anywhere from 60 to 115 watt, and it's all going to be the same branding. So you could see a laptop that's for sale with a 3070, and it could have anywhere from an 80 to 125 watt TDP GPU in it. And these OEMs are encouraged to display that kind of information, but it's not a requirement. And there's going to be a lot of confusion because you can get a laptop with a 3070 at 125 watts that outperforms a 3080 with an 80 watt GPU. And
Yeah, it's just not apparent. It's very difficult for the average consumer to understand. So it's the horror show is playing out in real time, and this article was an example of somebody experiencing exactly that.
over at TechSpot.
Yes.
Yeah, and we talked about the notebook check first look before, and those were the charts where I first saw like, oh, there's the 3070 beating the 3080 already, and it's a real problem. But as you can see here, they are calling out the Max-Q technologies, which include DLSS and Whisper Mode, Dynamic Boost 2.0. But that doesn't solve the issue of we have a brand, which is like a product called the 3070, that may or may not have the same performance from laptop to laptop, depending on the implementation. So let's see some benchmarks here. Here you go.
Hasn't that always kind of been the case, though?
I guess
Like they've always
You
kind
could
of
tell
varied
by the-
depending on the thermal
was a big
design of the
view on
different
it.
platforms. Yeah,
This is a
But even with the-
distinction that is much larger than we've seen in the past. I mean, certainly
Yeah.
you've got, we put a 25 watt, we derated this, AMD processor to 25 watt, even though it's supposed to be 45 watts. And you've got this, and, graphics, that. But when we're talking about, a 3070 that's not derated, and then somebody puts in a 3080, and they charge you $300 to $400 more because that's the price difference, but it performs lower than the 3070 that's not thermally constrained. It's not just performance, and we understand they've done this in the past, but it's significant money that you're investing going from a 3070 to 3080, and you want to have better performance, and you think it should be better performance, but in fact, you go find this Clevo that they're sticking to the specs and now performs it for that much money less. It gets hairy fast. I mean, we're not talking about 10 or 15 watts TDP. We're talking significantly different and significant amounts of performance from what I'm reading. Not that
There
I've
was a
tested these
graph
things.
that was on there just a second ago that showed a really big discrepancy between two equally provisioned. I think it was 3060. It might have been 3070 laptops, but they were both, labeled essentially the same, and it illustrated the problem that you were talking about there, Josh. Exactly.
The TechSpot article, unfortunately, just had 3060s, two different versions.
Okay.
They didn't have any 3070s or 3080s. The Notebook Check article that we talked about last time, it actually has 3070s, 3080s of different TDPs. And if you look at the charts, you'll see things like this, this Zephyrus G15 GA503Q with an RTX 3080, Call of Duty Black Ops, 1080 highest settings, plus ultra ray tracing, 53.9 frames per second. And then up above that is a RTX 3070 powered laptop that's getting 68.5. Oh, wait. What? That's a desktop graphics card. What on earth is happening here?
That's not
Right.
a laptop.
No, that's not a laptop. All right, well, forget it. We just need to do our own testing because I'm unsatisfied with everything I've seen so far. 'Cause they're testing GPUs versus laptop GPUs, and
That doesn't work. Yeah, we need more data.
We can't do that. But it is possible. I have heard that it is possible to outperform one with the other.
The other one that you had up there before was actually two 3060 laptops, and there was the graphic actually showed a somewhat dramatic difference between two sort of equally labeled. You had to
Right.
know based upon the TDP, upon the wattage that were allotted to the GPUs, which one was going to be relatively more performant. But from a layman's look at the sort of the high level features and the illustrative things that might have been on the outside of the box, so to speak, you could not have known which
Yeah.
one was going to be better.
Here, for example, is Control. This is 1080 DX12 highest preset. And we have a 45 watt processor. This is a Ryzen 7 5800H laptop with an RTX 3060. This is in the 115 to 130 TDP range, getting 71.2 frames per second. Now, another laptop, this is a different CPU though. So this is a Core
Yeah, I
i7
know.
10870H, 80 to 95 watts. But you know what? Maybe the 5800H it was consuming more than 45 watts in the test and had high who knows? Because this is 1080p. At this point, you're probably more CPU bound than GPU bound. Are they doing any 1440 tests? Is this all
That was a
1080p?
greater than
1080.
10% difference. That was a greater than 10% difference there. What do we have here? 780p.
It's
No, it's the
Cyberpunk,
same two
1080
CPUs.
Ultra. It's the same laptops. Like they only had one test laptop for each. So unfortunately, it's not a great review because they were not testing the same platform.
It's not an apples to apples comparison.
No,
but,
it's not
you
an
know,
M1 to Intel comparison. No,
You knew what I was going to say. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. There's no apples to apples. Well, there are apples to apples comparisons now. You can literally take Apple M1 versus last year's Apple, and that can be a comparison point. As my phone goes.
Well,
off.
it's embarrassing to the Intel one, but anyway,
Yep.
moving on.
And it doesn't do very well in Cyberpunk 2077.
No, it does not. Kent knows. Speaking of Kent,
Some
Yes.
very bad news, Sebastian.
No, my phone. I have an iPhone, and I've used many different phones over the last decade plus.
And it determined that you were talking smack about Apple, and so it turned off.
oh,
My-
that's probably what happened.
the sleep, not the sleep wake, but the silent switch on the side, it's put it into silent mode, but it keeps on vibrating and going in and out of silent mode, even though it's switched into silent mode.
That's
So-
not supposed to happen.
No, it's not.
Stop it.
And it will literally, I'll flip the switch, and then it will go buzz, silent mode on, and then like silent mode off.
Well,
silent
ask
mode
it.
off, silent mode on,
Alexa,
silent mode off.
would you turn on silent mode?
Oh, you got a bad switch.
I do. I need to. While I still have Apple Care, I need to get this one fixed. Anyway, that was the iPhone break for this week. What is next on?
Up next,
we're
we've
going to
got
talk about
Kent.
canoodling.
Kent with the latest canoodling update in Cyberpunk.
Canoodling.
Kent, tell us about
Don't
the
disrespect the
latest
game.
Cyberpunk update. Is it playable finally?
I've found it playable since I first downloaded it, but I'm playing on a RTX 3090 as well. So, but the new patches have come out. They're up to 1.011. With each subsequent patch, I've found fewer and fewer
Fixing the last
glitches in the
game-breaking
game.
patch.
Now,
sorry?
Jeremy. Now.
Sorry, that one I found amusing.
So
See, and
this
he's
was
not
back in
releasing a
January.
patch
There's
to
probably
fix
some
the
other
patch.
ones.
Oh,
There we go,
111. Here we
111.
go. Hotfix
Yep.
1.11. It's on
Keep
PCs,
adding
consoles, and Stadia. It's all okay. All right, so this update addresses two
Stadia for the
issues.
next 20 minutes.
Yeah, hey, so
while
the Stadia
still-
version is a integral part of the branding here.
It's for as long as Stadia is around.
Which you come on
Stadia?
on that subject real quick. Hold on a second. There's a fiddle with
Stadia.
cameras and stuff.
Is that
On
the stuff you put in
subject-
your drink?
Yeah, it's
Artificial
stevia.
sweetener?
That's Stevia.
Oh,
But
Stevia.
Stadia, it was
Similar.
a doomed from the beginning, ridiculous idea, which is
Well, who
it's
didn't
been-
know this?
who from the like because they got press to talk about how wonderful it was and how living room Xbox console, the total latency is actually comparable to what Stadia.
Negative.
Like, remember when
Negative
Wait a minute.
latency.
it was
where have I heard this before?
Digital Foundry?
Yeah.
Heard this
Who-
before somewhere.
who use it right exactly the early days when
No,
Ryan was being
on live?
threatened with
Yes.
lawsuits and Kyle had to
live.
step in
Yeah.
and
On
yeah.
live.
yeah.
Bending the laws of physics everywhere. Yep.
It seemed to be credible this time because if you remember, Digital Foundry did these tests where they used high-speed cameras to show you that the overall latency with just a Bluetooth control in your hand and your own TV in the living room is actually not much different than the Stadia experience. And I'm like, you know what? That's ridiculous. There's so many different
That's
things
not a
that can...
crappy Bluetooth controller.
Right. First of all, there's latency in the Bluetooth spec, sure. It might be like, who knows? Maybe there's 40 milliseconds of latency in your controller. The TV itself has input lag. There could be 30, 40 milliseconds of input lag right there, even if it's in game mode. I have an LG OLED that I don't think does any better than like 30 milliseconds of input lag.
So and
You really didn't
those numbers
see
you just
any better
mentioned.
than that on televisions until this year.
Yeah.
Gaming televisions last year were still in the 30, 40, 50 milliseconds of lag.
Yeah,
What
and
was
that's enough
that
to make like a any kind of Twitch, like not Twitch like the streaming thing, but like Twitch meaning like the motions you're doing, like what was that rally game on Xbox back in the day, Josh? Like the early Rally Sport Challenge, stuff like that. Like the ones that were really like you needed low latency. to play that game effectively, and I had like some wireless controller for an Xbox back then, and it was just unplayable. And it was adding like 20 or 30 milliseconds, but like you literally could not beat the time you needed to beat to make it to the next stage unless you plugged in the wired controller. Just
Not
from,
with that
just from
crappy
alone.
Bluetooth controller.
If you
Yeah,
want
it
to
was
know
some
how much
crappy, whatever it was at the time. This,
If-
years ago. But-
Bluetooth is convenient, yes, but if you want to know how much input lag or lag in general is associated with Bluetooth, just start watching something on a device and use Bluetooth. Like use your desktop and don't use something that's going to sort of try to do lip sync. 'Cause I feel like there's compensation now built into like an iPhone, for example. Like they know how much latency is involved in a pair of AirPods, and stuff syncs. Like I can watch a video on my iPhone with AirPods, and there's no lag whatsoever. But on another phone,
They're compensating. It's not
Yes,
that there's
they
no
are.
lag.
They're
It's
delaying.
They're
they are.
compensating.
The stuff that you're watching
Yeah.
is on a delay, yes. But if you're trying to watch with Bluetooth headphones with your TV in the living room, the voices are always way off. There is lag. I don't know the exact number in the spec. I thought there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 milliseconds associated with the technology, because there's a round trip that has to take place, and it's not instant. But that's one of the problems. But regardless, the only way that Google could make Stadia work is if they emphasize titles that weren't twitchy. Like, no, there's a reason they're not showcasing Fortnite with Stadia. They're showcasing things like Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed was basically on rails because this predictive input crap, their negative latency, it was controlling for you. It was anticipating what you would have done and then doing it. How
That's
else
a
can you
movie.
explain negative latency? It means, well, we're actually
You
controlling
can't.
it for you. We know you'd turn
can't.
right here, so we're just going to turn right here.
Well, because the rail says turn here.
And your
what you're
average
saying.
game journal probably is like, yeah, I mean, the experience with this is so great. Like, right, but you don't actually know what gaming is. Like, you don't understand that there's a different feel to hitting the button and getting a response right away. That's why CRTs feel different. If you're on an old console on a CRT, it feels different than if you plug that same console up to an LCD and then wait for like forever, seemingly. You're trying to play an NES game on an LCD with
You're right.
tons of input lag. Feels really weird. But anyway, we need those single input monitors again that only have DVI and like, what is the minimum, Alan? What is the minimum input lag on an LCD? Isn't there just just to actually refresh
Minimum?
the whole screen up and down, 60 hertz? There's lag associated with that, right?
Well,
No, it'll
some,
depend on the
I mean,
size
some
of
of them
your
are
screen too.
some of them are pretty dang low. Some of them, you get an effective input lag just depending on where you measured on the screen. If you measured halfway down the screen, you get half a frame worth of lag because it's literally like, it took that long to scan down to the point where you were seeing, like if you're looking for muzzle flash in the middle of the screen, as an example, right? That's the middle of the screen. You're going to get half a frame worth of lag, best case, right? But if you measure
Yeah.
at the very top of the screen, depending on the screen, like if it's like a Dell 3007, like that 30-inch that only had one input,
Yes.
right? Dual link DVI, single input, that was it, nothing else. Which I still have. I have one over there in the corner.
Of course
it
you
will
do.
never. It will never leave this house. That screen will always stay with me. You're gonna have to bury me with it one day. But yeah, that thing, as the stream was coming in, it was the earliest version of a display like that. There was literally no room to buffer anything on the boards in the display. So as the stream was coming in, it was updating the pixels, right? That's, sometimes it's better to go ridiculously cheesy and cheap with what the hardware was in the display, and that actually might lead you to the lower input lags. When they try to get fancy with on-screen displays, which that same display I just mentioned didn't even have an on-screen display, right? The next version of the Dell display that did have an on-screen display suddenly had like 30 to 40 milliseconds worth of input lag because everything had to pass through this extra layer that was responsible for adding on the on-screen display when it needed to go there. So a thing that was almost never on the screen was responsible for, I mean, that screen was actually, I think it was worse than 40 on that one. It was like the 3008 after the 3007.
I've got one of those
and it was
downstairs.
like, yeah, Yeah, it was like 50 or 60 milliseconds. Or so. It was like the one where you when you went from the one screen to the next screen and you moved your mouse, and you would notice that the mouse was like done moving before the mouse cursor started to move, and you're like, this is right out. This is
You
not
might
right.
just
This is not
suddenly
gonna
need
work.
to switch from warm to cool, though, and so you need to be able to bring up the OCD, like, or your OSD, like you have OCD.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
somewhere
Those were the days.
somewhere beneath this rant about display lag and Stadia, Kent was trying to talk about the current play experience. Have you have you updated
poor
to
Kent.
1.11?
I'm sorry, Kent.
Yes, I have. And
now you can't have sex with Canoe
with each
anymore.
patch, I've found fewer and fewer bugs in the game. There's still quite a few physics glitches. For instance, earlier this evening, I just saw a car launch into the sky and make a landing worthy of SpaceX. So you know,
Ooh, that's not
Um,
good.
no, but overall, I've got almost 160 hours in the game, so I am enjoying it. But in each patch, the glitches are getting fewer and fewer. But the big news is that someone made a mod where you could replace the avatar of Keanu Reeves' Johnny Silverhand into the place of one of the Joy Toys in the game so that you could have sex with Keanu Reeves' avatar.
Great. You know, I didn't see that on the
That
roadmap.
seems critical.
It must be somewhere between 1.11 and 1.2.
Well,
implied.
CD
They must
Projekt
have
Red
left that off the-
has blocked that mod.
Patch notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red, in their wisdom, to said no, you can't do that, and blocked that mod.
Do you have a
so-
mod where you can kill his dog?
Oh dear.
Interesting.
Then it turns
Yes,
into a
but
completely
then
different
he
Oh, the John Wick
immediately
mode?
kills you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He immediately kills you.
You just
and
have to
takes over
run.
your body.
Run far away.
What's your percentage of you can recommend this to people who haven't played yet? I mean, are you like 100% dive in, let's do it, or like are you 50%?
I think it depends on. I think the game really depends on the type of player you are. I really enjoy story-driven games, and
Like
this is a
like
very
Deus Ex and stuff like that.
Witcher 3 thing, Witcher 2, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yes. The Tomb Raider reboot 2013. That was a fantastic game. It had a fantastic story. But I think a lot of people went into Cyberpunk thinking it was futuristic Grand Theft Auto or futuristic Witcher, and I tried to go in it not knowing what to expect. I didn't watch any reviews. I didn't watch any spoilers or gameplay videos. I just watched a couple of the teaser trailers, and it took me a while to sort of figure out what kind of game it was. But once I did, I've quite enjoyed it. And much like the Witcher series, I feel like that if you go in and just play through the main storyline, you're missing well over half of the game. There's so much just out in the world of Night City and outside of Night City that you just don't encounter unless you go looking for it.
So if you're the type of gamer that gets dragged kicking and screaming back into the main plot, that's sort of it's a good game for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's filled with Fallout-like side quests that you can go do, and those are
Absolutely, yes. There's a lot of side quests, and a lot of the side quests really dwell on your own character's development, making choices as to what type of player you want to be. Like I say, I've really enjoyed the game quite a bit. Unfortunately, it keeps my addiction to it keeps delaying the review to the Thermaltake case behind me, but that is getting done.
It's okay. It's okay. Hey, you're actually enthusiastic about a game and playing it on your PC, which is more than I can say for myself. So that's nice. I regard gaming and PCs pretty much as just like it's work, it's benchmarking. And then when I actually play games on PCs, it's typically something in, like DOSBox. Because that's the kind of lame person that I am.
There's nothing lame
Or
about
jump
that.
into Counter-Strike or Warships because you can get done in like 20 minutes and do something else and not have to worry about finishing a quest or knowing where you are or any of the other crap. Just pick it up, drop it, and go. And it makes existence sad.
I got one of those, I mentioned this, it was my pick a few weeks ago. One of those Anbernic handhelds. It's an open source handheld. And I have the RG351P and the RG350M. So I've been playing like SNES games, and they have all the arcade emulators and all that stuff on there. So I just get lost in that for like half an hour. That's my gaming experience every week. Hey, speaking of experiences, Chris Koch, who is one of our contributors, last week we talked about a just ridiculous, I think it was last week, drop keyboard kit, and now he has something that makes that look childish by comparison.
Oh, indeed.
Because
Yeah.
this is
It's wild and wacky.
it's the Monstar gear from a company called Monstar, XO K80 aluminum keyboard kit, and he calls this heavy metal. I won't even spoil the price for you. Like the total investment here. Now the kit is $365 for the solder version and $375 for hot swap. He says it falls squarely into the middle for custom keyboard pricing, but has a lot to offer for prospective builders. Something I'm not familiar with.
I just want to mention that Chris clearly moves in different circles.
Yes, like when he starts talking about
What-
how
what
like
is-
this is very much mid-range.
What does hot
yeah.
swap mean in this context?
That you can swap out the actual key switches right out of the
They're
frame.
socketed.
Yeah, they're socketed.
Okay. I get it.
So I don't remember. I think he used the socketed version. He goes on
That might-
about this kit.
That might be the
and
total. That might be the total amount that I've spent in my lifetime on keyboards.
like the total is 365.
I don't think that you've
Yeah.
heard the final number on this particular
Oh no,
keyboard,
you
so
have
just-
not heard the final
no,
number because
you-
understand
Nope.
these kits do
You
not
need to
come with key
hold-
switches. They don't come with keycaps.
Oh, really?
Lube.
You have to
Or
you have to
lube.
provide your own cable. You have to lube the keys individually.
Custom
see
silicon
here.
damper or band-aids.
Oh.
He uses Krytox 2005G0, by the way. It's an industrial
Yeah.
lubricant.
Yeah, Krytox is not
And
cheap.
a switch film from the Kibo store.
Yeah, that's $25.
It's a specialized.
Krytox. Krytox is like PTFE. I think.
Well, he
He said-
also built a custom silicon damper.
Yes. Oh yeah, I love that part of the review because he shows
Oh my gosh,
here
it's
this
great.
mold rubber, which he had
I'll be right
to.
back.
He
Oh,
shows
boy.
this mold rubber, this high strength liquid mold making rubber, and he had to create.
Looks tasty.
He said to create my dampener, I picked up a silicone mold making kit from my local Michaels craft store. This was about
Okay,
$25.
let me
It had
stop
enough
you here.
material. Yes.
Let me stop you here. So you talked about lube and
Uh-huh.
rubber molding,
Uh-huh.
and Brett had to run away.
He got
Uh-huh.
too excited.
He had to get props.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, I
please,
mean, obviously
I'm
his
not
mold is
props.
done. He's got to lube
I
it
don't want
to
to
get it
see
out of the
these
press.
props.
$5
Gotta
says
get-
he's downloading that Keanu Reeves avatar.
Yeah, before it's too late.
He's already got that.
We're doomed.
But while we wait for Brett to return, let's look at some more photos of this kit real quick. I'll try to scroll to the end, but it's he adds the keycaps, he puts this all together. It looks like he recruits his
Hold on.
kid
What was
to
what was
make
62
this all
bucks?
happen.
Hold on. Go
This,
go back
just
up.
the
What was 62 bucks?
key switches? Oh, the key caps.
Okay. So 350 for a kit. 62 bucks for the caps. The Krytox was probably another 20 bucks.
He said 25,
or
and then
more.
the coiled
25,
cable from
okay.
Tez Cables was $40.
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
USB cable.
$40 cable.
Right.
All right. All right.
Okay,
so
stop-
Monster
stop
cable.
Child assembly
Monster
included.
cable.
what was this?
Is he,
What is this?
Is he
What
hiring
is-
small children
what
to
is
put
this?
together his keyboards?
Look, he has a factory out of his house
Hiring.
that produces these, and I mean, he's not paying for the labor, but it's
No. Feeds them once a month.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So go on. Like,
Chris
what-
Coke
All right, so here,
actually
here,
Foxconn.
yes,
Kind of, yeah.
His house is Foxconn. Let's see. He says, taken as a whole, I feel it's a well done kit, etc., etc. Where is the total? He has a typing demonstration. That's nice. Okay, so the core kit totaled $375. After I purchased all
No,
the
you missed the
accessories-
price.
It was over 500.
It's $550. It's in the sentence above what you were looking at.
Okay. He's very
Yes,
casual
$550 for a keyboard you assemble yourself.
about that.
Or you
is
get
the
child labor to
30-second
do it.
The 30-second
dusting off my
video
old wall.
might almost be worth it just to listen to the key clicks.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I'm just
okay, I see. I missed it. It's right above the video.
Okay.
Or right
So
below the video.
I'm
$550.
gonna dust off an old line that I have used multiple times on this podcast over the years. But now we can add the context because now we have Brett on the podcast.
Okay, here we
And
go.
Brett knows that I purchased a 1985 burgundy red. It wasn't burgundy, but it was. Brett knows the exact name of the color. 1985 Scirocco that I was converting into a twin-engine Scirocco project. I bought that
yes.
car for $300, running. Okay, so in the podcast in the past, whenever I have said I have bought cars for cheaper than that thing, whatever that thing may have been, that was the actual car that I bought for cheaper than that, and now I can say that I've bought cars for cheaper than Chris Koch's keyboard.
I think you
That's
cut
just-
one in half and turned it into a trailer once for less money.
That too, but that one was not running when I got it.
Yeah, well,
Hence, cutting it in half.
Yeah.
I actually cut it in three.
they made a nice
I
trailer.
cut the
though.
back off. Yeah, I cut the back off, wheeled that away, made that into a trailer that I then towed behind another Scirocco. And then to get rid of the remaining thing, I split it right down the middle so I can slide it into my buddy's van and made a trip with half of the front of the car to the dump and then made another trip with the other half of the front of the
That
car.
poor car.
I have a picture.
You
I have
got
a
to
picture
run,
somewhere
or
of
I'm
it.
literally going to cut you in half and make you drag your corpse behind you.
Yeah. Well, I still have that Sawzall. It's
It's
amazing.
a-
It's cuts through everything.
It's a colorful metaphor.
You don't want to look at it.
I have a
that way.
picture
That's not-
somewhere. I have a picture somewhere of an old like GMC conversion van with the back doors open and the right half of the front of a Volkswagen Scirocco like sticking out with just like the two headlights just sitting there. It's just literally half a car just slid into a minivan. It was very interesting at the dump. The looks we got. Anyway,
I'm sending this
You
to
didn't
Sebastian right
recycle
now.
Oh.
did you find the picture?
I did.
What? How did Brett? How did you
Where- how
possibly?
are you
I don't
sending
even
it
know
to
where
me?
that picture is.
No, I mean the one with the trailer.
Oh, he has the picture with the trailer. Okay,
Yeah.
It-
So
where
let me
did
just
you
dump
send
this
it?
out.
that makes
I'm
more
about
sense.
to drop it into. I'm about to drop it into the.
The old staff chat.
Yeah. Let me just get you that for a second.
Oh boy.
Well, we'll all wait while
Here.
Brett uploads
Oh boy.
Waiting.
on his
Well, that's okay. I mean, we're going to talk
Minuscule
about
cable
B-Dice.
Ladder
internet
not
connection.
getting any bigger.
There you go.
Oh, here we go. All right, let's switch over to that input.
I wonder what picture this is.
Let's see.
That doesn't look good.
As Sebastian
Doesn't look
tries to
good.
flip the
There's
switch.
somebody sitting in the back, though.
It's totally true though.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a trailer,
That's,
and it's another, like the rear
so
of another
now-
car.
Now the reason it's like tilted down that far is because there was like 3 transmissions, 2 sets of wheels, and a bunch of other crap in that trailer at that time. It was kind of not happy. But I still have that Scirocco. I don't have the trailer anymore.
The green.
I know I had to get it
Scirocco.
running the last time I was there.
Yeah, still runs. Just started up the other day.
Good.
Fuel pumps still aren't happy.
Nah, that's normal.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, my silence.
Moving
phone went off
along.
again. Yes, real quick. Couple of reviews
Speaking
I threw
of
up on
Neo.
the site. Yeah, Neo. Speaking of Keanu Reeves,
Speaking of
G-Skill.
Neo,
Hey, yeah. Did they finally
has-
remove some of the phallic activity there from that game? I heard they were like
No,
trying to.
they've doubled down on it, I believe.
too many.
Wait, you can have
even
two?
phalanxes.
You can have two.
Yes.
That's funny.
All right.
Kent,
no,
is that
I mean-
true?
I mean,
can
I-
you have two?
I have not noticed that. No,
Okay.
I did. I
He's
did.
like, I'm not
did
looking down
encounter-
there.
That's exactly.
That's
Hot
not how
take
I enjoy
from
the
Kent. Not that I've noticed.
game. Right.
Not that I've noticed.
I don't know.
I did
I-
encounter the most equal opportunity strip club that you could ever imagine. It was called Dicky Twisters, and you go in, and all the pole dancers are males. It was very forward-looking.
yeah.
But were they
Polish?
Polish?
Even.
I kept
We
seeing
don't-
like
we don't have
random.
to
You know, I
ask
haven't played the
any
game
more
yet myself, but I kept seeing
questions
people
about that.
posting like, you know, in car groups that I'm in, I would see somebody post a picture of like, here's a car from the game, and it has what looks like a penis just hanging off the back of it for some reason. Can't understand why.
Because, you know,
It's
we
still
don't live
there.
in a world with truck nuts.
Hey, you know what? That's true. We do.
I
That's
guess.
a thing.
Yeah.
The Rams with the balls in the back. Anyway, the cyberpunk themed, not really, but okay, real quick, G-Skill.
You're going to ram it in, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. G-Skill. This is
just
not a
ram it
new
right in there.
product, but the Trident Z. You've probably heard of the Trident Z RAM from G-Skill. They have a Trident Z Neo, which I think is within the last year or so they introduced this. They sent a kit that is 3600 with a cast latency of 14.
That's low.
That's very low.
I just wanted to point out, having
fine, that's-
installed a set of that RAM with that particular design heat spreader on it lately, just the other day, in fact, it feels like you're trying to push your thumb into a box cutter.
Yeah, it's very sharp on the top edge.
I just thought I would point that out. I mean, go back to the picture. No,
No,
go
I
back
have
to
a close-up photo of the rear where you can see how it's like a blade. The top
Do you have a
edge
close-up
right
photo
here.
of your bleeding thumbs afterwards?
Yeah, let's see. Where is that photo?
I mean, there's actually like a bevel on it, and it is like legit sharpened, right? Like it's not
slicey.
even rounded.
It's very
Yeah.
sharp. It's sharpened to a point. Yes.
Yeah, that's very visually sharpened.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, I mean, if I had tried to seat that RAM with my thumb there, it would have drawn blood. Like
Well,
I'm not even kidding.
look, as a guitar player, Alan, I have very calloused fingers. So I pushed right down on it. I was fine. There was no blood.
No, okay.
It was like using 11
Good.
gauge strings.
RAM
guess.
overclocks
Yeah, that's
faster
still-
with blood
Could be
sacrifice.
painful.
That's sharper. It splits the electrons.
He's got a point.
Right? It just
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
If you drip a little blood on it, that's a sacrifice to the
It is.
overclocking guy.
I made a blood pact with this memory to run
Yeah.
properly without gear down mode being engaged, and it worked.
Oh, that's right. Your point is that at 3600, what is it? Cas 14,
Yeah.
Cas 15. What was it?
14.
Yeah.
14,
Well,
15,
that's just-
15, 35.
That's amazing and
That's
definitely
really nice.
geared, if I could, make a pun, towards feeding Ryzen.
Well, right. This is
Obviously.
the Neo is their AMD Ryzen specific line.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
I mean, it doesn't do any good to throw steak in front of an Intel CPU. You have to give it to a Ryzen CPU, isn't that right, Alan?
steak.
I don't
can't
know what
just-
any of this means. But you're
You can't-
prolonging
you
a
can't
story that
throw-
should have been done in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Can I just say, I ran Typhoon Burner to see, and I already knew this, but this is Samsung B-Die memory here, and which is, of course it is. If you're talking about high performance, low latency memory that works perfectly on Ryzen platforms, of course it's Samsung B-Die, and you're going to pay for it too, because the list price on this kit is, I believe, $299. That's for a 32 gigabyte.
Yeah.
$299. Thank you.
For a dual
But it's-
channel?
But it's dual. But I know,
Pricey.
please, the AMD interleaving police are going to say you need 4 DIMMs. They sent 2. Everybody wants to send 2. I don't know what it is. I need
You
to
need 4!
tell them we need
4
4
DIMMs.
now. 4 8s instead of 2 16s because AMD
Because that
fans.
costs about a half to a 2/3 the price of two
No,
16s right
but
now.
these B dives could be dual rank, so
Wait, why do you need 4? What?
I don't think they are
Because
on this one, are they?
the AMD fans, they say that you have to have the memory interleaving increases performance on Ryzen platforms.
Yeah. But
Oh,
it's
you
a
mean
single.
within a channel? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, is this
But,
dual
I
rate or
mean,
dual?
that's a
And
fair
these,
point.
I think these are they 16 or 32 gigs?
There's 16s.
Two 16s.
Two 16s.
Two 16s,
that-
they're probably going to be.
Its composition is
would
1024 by 8, 64 megabit by 8 by 16 banks.
16 banks, yeah.
They are
So they'd
dual
be
rank.
single.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
2R 2R by 8. Yeah, dual rank. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Come on, man.
Yeah, so you shouldn't
no,
need 4 DIMMs.
As I
Equivalent.
discovered after being
Yeah.
forced to update the hardware leaderboard in this hellish landscape that we are in right now, I did discover that buying a 32 gig kit that is made up of 4 8s is 50% to 2/3 of the price that two 16s will be. Which seemed ridiculous, but I looked at a bunch of different ones, and yeah, if you wanted a dual 16, you were paying significantly more than if you were buying a pair of their 16. And they would have the exact same latencies and everything. It was a nightmare. It was horrible. It may have come out in the update. If you read the update to the hardware leaderboard, might have been a little bit bitter at the end of that one. And
Jeremy
there were tears
Bitter? That's hard
Shed. There
to
were
believe.
tears shed during that.
You know what else is hard to
Never
believe? I'll show
crying.
one benchmark here. Did you know that in synthetic benchmarks, faster, lower latency memory has better
goes
performance
faster?
numbers?
Faster.
Isn't
No
that
way.
amazing?
Bullshit.
What?
Can't be.
What?
And then if you do like memory intensive stuff like 7-zip, it's like, wow, the faster memory is faster. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And look, it has RGB lighting and it's
Wait, that 7-zips was
customizable.
like that 7-zip was like
And you can
what
open
was
up
it again?
packages so good with that
Let's see, what do they
edge.
do? Let's see.
It was like
You just got
so
to
it was
pop
like
them out
the
of your
same-
motherboard.
Oh,
I know.
well, you're going
Tapes
from 32 to
is no problem.
Self-opening
that
RAM.
seems
It'll
like
cut right
a-
through that clamshell.
that seems
Yeah.
like a bigger jump than you would expect because like you're only going from 32 to 36.
Here's
Well,
why
and they're
it's a
both
bigger.
CL14, right?
Here's why. Because
Uh-huh.
F clock at 32 was only 16, and it was a
Oh,
1-to-1
synchronous.
ratio, so I moved up to 18
It's synchronous. Yeah,
on the
it's
F
1 to
clock
1.
on the processor. Yeah, so that was, I said that in the review. Like, this is kind of a crap review because you're really showing the difference between riding a Ryzen processor at 16 versus 18, and it makes a big difference. So anyway, that's that. It's expensive. The particular kit that I had is not available right now, but there is a bunch of other kits in the family that range from $99 to like $1,399. So you can go absolutely nuts. But in the review I mentioned there's a link to a little tool online, the BDI Finder. You put in the SKU of the memory you're looking at, it tells you whether it's Samsung BDI or not, which I found was very handy.
Decoder.
Yep, look, it's just called BDI Finder, linked in the article. You type in the SKU or paste it in, and it's like BDI guaranteed. Like yes, BDI. So anyway, because people love the BDI. And finally, speaking of things that you can't, things that you can't
Speaking
buy,
of things you can't buy.
right?
Things that make you go Supreme.
Supreme.
It's right. It's spelled Supreme. It's pronounced Supreme according to the review guide. It's the Supreme X from MSI. Overbuilt,
The twins, actually.
massive, air-cooled behemoths of a GPU. We're talking about something that is about 13
How many
and a quarter
pounds
inches
each?
long. They're a little over 4 pounds, so 4.18 for the 3090. But understand, the 3080 Supreme is actually 13 grams lighter, approximately.
You know, you still wouldn't want it thrown at you like a brick.
No, I mean, just by
'Cause
virtue
it
of
is
having
a
less RAM, it was 13 grams lighter.
Plus, that's a really expensive brick.
By the virtue of it having slightly fewer chips.
big.
This
back-
one has 13
Hey, look,
grams
wait.
less RAM in it.
But you know what? They the level to which they have overbuilt these is kind of staggering.
Wait.
What?
Go back to that picture. I just want to just note the number of 8-pin power.
Oh
Connections.
yeah, absolutely.
Not one, not
Not
Not two.
Look,
but three.
The number
Three.
shall be.
three
The number shall be
8-pin power
three.
connectors, And I'm not going to get
right out.
not going to get too far into
Yeah.
this. It comes with a stand because there's a great possibility of GPU sag with something that's this heavy and long. And as you can see, here's a stand assembled. You can put it to any height you want, and it's got a foot on it with like a rubber base, and it keeps the GPU from sagging in your case. That's a nice little addition. And you get a mouse pad. Look, this is a super expensive graphics card, so you'd expect some extras in there. You can see the default clocks here with it set to the performance BIOS, the gaming BIOS setting. And I'm not going to get into gaming benchmarks because, well, I'll just show you one. Metro Exodus 4K high. It is about 2 frames per second faster than a Founders Edition with the same driver. I had to retest the Founders Edition because my day one tests were on that original BIOS where the clocks were higher. So on current drivers, it is about 2 FPS faster. But
they
the
actually,
power.
it's
look at
actually
the power.
pulled back a little bit from the
Yes, they pulled it back
launch drivers.
to make it more stable.
Yeah.
Look at the board power draw. Founders Edition, same driver. Founders Edition, about 325 watts for the board, total board power draw. Max. The Supreme version of the 3080, without any overclocking, 375, 380. So, huge increase in power draw. It's making use of that third 8-pin. But, I mean, maybe. It's actually only, I think, using 2. How many watts can pass through a single
150
8-pin?
watts.
Okay.
150,
So
I
it's
believe.
making use of that third. And, of course, the 3090. I don't have another 3090 to test. This is the first one we've had. So, I mean, is 460 watts under load normal? Seems a little high for a 320 watt GPU, but or whatever it is. But I mean, they have all sorts of things here. Like they have an overview that just goes nuts, talking about like how they built this thing, and there's copper heat pipes inside the back plates. It's
So the backplate's legit.
it's a real
not just for
backplate.
show.
Yeah.
The new Trifrozer 2S. If I can scroll fast enough here to actually see, they talk about dedicated
all have to
close
have good,
quarters heat pipes for memory modules that are.
They all have to have good, like actual backplates, because the GDDR will cook without something spreading the heat on the back.
There is a
Particularly if you're,
version of
overclocking
the EVGA 3080 that does not come with a backplate. Josh knows this.
Yeah, but
Oh, really?
there's no memory on those ones in the back. It's only 10 gigs on the front.
Yep, there
Oh.
you go. That's the reason why.
The 20 gig
Yeah, only
ones are maybe
3090s.
a little.
Yeah, the 3090s probably have memory in the back.
I would assume.
Oh,
Yeah.
they absolutely do. Yeah, and,
And
if
then-
you push them hard with without like direct airflow going across the backplate on some of them, on some of them, it'll actually throttle. They had to make an update to HW Info recently because it didn't used to get the telemetry on that whatever that temperature was. Like there was an extra temperature that was not surfaced in the usual like API calls or whatever you can get to the hardware. And it wasn't like an ICX3 thing or whatever from EVGA. It was like this separate sensor that was a DDR temperature sensor that went right to the GPU and basically, sort of feedback temperature thing. So if you were pushing the memory hard, like if you were, you could, it was really easy to trigger it on mining, but there were some gaming workloads which would do it too, where, memory intensive with stagnant air in the case, like other than the fans on the GPU, but if you had stagnant air, on the back face of the GPU, against the backplate, it would just cook and it would start throttling. Like your GPU, it would basically go down to like idle clocks on you, you wouldn't even understand why, because like the GPU temp would be like at 70C or 65C or something, and the thing would throttle down to nothing, and it wouldn't make any sense.
But if you put a nice piece of salmon on top of it to absorb the heat,
Oh, sure.
you'll also get dinner
Yeah.
and full frame rate.
And if it's a frozen piece of salmon. So for the 17 people out there with the 3090, definitely make sure you got some air flowing over that.
Especially if you're using it for something other than gaming that might involve overclocking the memory and running it 24 hours a day.
Mining.
By the way, I just want to show you pricing on this. It's not available, but MSI recently upped the price, just like EVGA. You know, everybody's kind of responding to the shortages by raising MSRPs. The actual
And also
official,
the tariffs.
well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
just-
the tariffs.
There's a number of
thankfully we don't have
reasons,
to deal with that in Canada.
but look at the actual pricing from Newegg listings for these graphics cards, shipped and sold by Newegg. I have the links here. 11.19. We're talking $1,200 for the 3080.
That's fucking Canadian prices, mate.
And the 3090 is $2,300.
Actually,
You
it's
can't
cheaper
buy
in
them
Canada.
anyway, but I mean,
We might have to buy stuff from Canada to save money at some point.
Well, we also have the shortage in stocks, but no, seriously,
Well,
that's what a 3080
minus
is going
the-
for up here.
The tariffs,
3090's
or the tariffs
16,
at some
18.
point. There was somebody on a board that pointed out that they weren't going to buy anything from MSI due to the self-scalping issue that they had with them. What do you think about that? You know what I'm talking
Can
about?
we just move on to picks of the
What?
week?
yeah, we don't need
where
to
they
introduce yet
where
another-
MS
Josh is regretting not
MSI
picking the adult diaper now.
he is
Take
where
pity
MSI
on the
was
poor
throwing
man.
out where it was
we know, right? We're just
okay.
all right.
There were some people who said that they weren't going to buy anything from them because of it.
I don't think they really look here. That's
Then don't.
bravado.
Don't
that's
do it.
Bravado.
These are nice
exactly.
cards,
Oh,
but
you don't
they're
want to buy it?
expensive.
That's fine. That's fine. Because if this
Don't.
is all that's
You can't buy
available and you
it.
want one of these cards, this is what you're going to buy. Because you can't buy these cards. So if you enter
True
the
that.
Newegg lottery to buy something, which I actually tried out today,
You get what you get.
Really?
and like I signed up for the different Ryzen 5000 CPUs, and I won. I won the right to buy a 5600X. I don't want one, so I didn't buy it. But I didn't because I wanted the 5900X. But I'm like, I just checked all the boxes, like all the graphics card, whatever. I'll see what's available. And I got an email, congratulations, you've won. And it's like, wow, I can pay full price plus shipping and sales tax for a 3600X. And then I went to eBay and looked, well, what are they selling for on eBay? I just buy one there. And they're literally selling for the same price as buying it from Newegg after shipping and tax. Like,
About $25 more on eBay. I
Well,
checked that
they-
when I won mine after
well,
shipping.
apparently it's dropped because
But
you can
it
buy
wasn't
them.
much. So
buy it now,
the
$330
scalpers
right
are
now.
not making as much money on the 5600X.
No, I think they're just trying to break even.
No, the
with eBay.
5950 is where
And that breaks my heart.
they're making the money. Yeah.
So, anyway,
Should I mention I can go to Micro Center and get a 5600X?
Sure, you can. Just
No?
keep on going in there
Okay.
every day, and
Yep.
right.
Well, you know what? Somebody's got to fill that box in on PC per bingo.
right.
That's all I'm saying.
It's time for picks of the week, and Josh is going to go first. 'cause
Thanks.
He's antsy. He can't wait to get it out.
I don't
Exactly.
even remember what I did.
There, I'll show you.
Let me take a look.
Host
Not
adapter
old
card.
man slippers.
Is it a host
Okay,
adapter
so-
card?
So yes, it is, and you know I have tested out this Icy Dock, and I was limited to a U.2 at PCI 3.0, and this actually will allow you to do PCI 4.0. So you can get one of the newer NVMe drives and put it in one of these docks and get full performance. And it really is full performance in the testing that I've done, at least with the PCI 3.0. I'd like to do this with the 4. But for only $28, if you get one of these external NVMe docks that I've been reviewing, and they're solid products, you're going to get good performance out of them, and they're cheap. And so if you've got excess lanes that you're not using and you want more storage, this good idea, and they're bootable, and yeah, you're happy. Only $28.
Is
and
this
you
your
can get it
use case
now.
right here? Are you using it with an SSD 750 like in the photo?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. Usually, I think I did the Phison, the Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus. So,
You and your Phison.
you know what? There's only 3 things out there that you can buy. Well, 4 if you count the second Phison E16. But who? That's old news.
Old. Yeah, what about Silicon Motion? You know, they have one.
Yeah,
They have 3.
Well, they're part of the 3. No, 4. So you got Western Digital, Samsung, two Physons, and the low SMC. There you go. And an
Right.
upcoming Intel.
Well, no. No, because they got out of the consumer space. All right, Jeremy, your pick. You have two links here. What is this?
Yeah, well, one's the link to get it, and the other is what it did. Because I ran into this on Guru of 3D today. It's Yuri Bubli that does this for them. He also did the old memory calculator. But Clock Tuner version 2.0 is a fun and informational little bit of software that lets you learn a lot more about what your Ryzen does and possibly even get a relatively decent and stable overclock out of it at the push of a button and wandering away and waiting for 20 minutes. They've upgraded it so that the graphical interface is much better. This is version 2.0. They released it at 1, and it worked fairly well. But and if you pop up the screenshot, you can see sort of what it shows you, and what I got just by pushing the button and then going back to work for a bit. So it is effective. I mean, it's not just increasing the capability of the processor to hit a nice boost frequency. It happily drops the voltage that it's eating to do it. It
Nice.
will test over and over again to find out what the lowest voltage required to get a nice stable at I settled at 4.5 because it wasn't really screwing around with power or anything. But for what I have, it was just a little bit under what you'd normally expect from a 5800X, and it jumped up to just a wee bit over, and it uses less voltage now. But the other fun part about it, if you scroll down to the other pic that I uploaded, or zip back to it, it'll show you an immense amount of information about your processor, what it's doing, what various voltages are, what the temperatures are, and in my case, since I've only got the single CCX, you're only seeing that. But if you've got a newer Ryzen 9 or a Threadripper, it populates all those CCXs, and you can sort of see, and it actually benchmarks based on them. So it'll actually tell you, hey, it's actually CCX2 that's kind of letting you down. CCX1 could actually do this, but the second one isn't going to do it. And you can dig all sorts of through it. It's also a decent stability test. They somehow linked Cinebench into it. So you download that free Cinebench where you get to run it once. But in this case, again, I don't know how they did it, but you're able to run these benchmarks over and over again. So if you're just sort of looking to fiddle around and you don't want to dig around too much with the manual overclocking, or you'd like to get a benchmark of this is what I can expect at this, then I'll start playing with my power curves, maybe bump up the V-core a little bit. It's fun, and it is worth it even if you're just not looking at overclocking but want to check the stability of your processor at base frequencies. And the newest part for this, because undervolting is cool now, they'll also check for reducing you down to I think it was about an even 4.2, and see what the lowest voltage you can run that stably at is. So now you can actually undervolt your PC and know that it's still going to be stable. Worth a shot if you're interested in playing around with that Ryzen that you still haven't found, except for me that I lucked out and got one.
Hey, you can win the Newegg lottery. Get one.
No, not in Canada. They don't play that
Oh,
up
I
here.
see. That's right. It's US only. All right. Well, that looks cool. And those are impressive numbers. I love the undervolting element there. Because I think everybody knows by this point that AMD stuff is always very aggressively tuned out of the factory, and you can drop the voltage on most of them, GPUs and CPUs.
Well, it's learning faster and at a lower voltage now.
Exactly. Yeah, it gets out of its own way, and then it performs better. All right. So next, Brett, I believe.
Yeah, like most people, I value the stability and multi-user load carrying capacity in an operating system, which is why I only use Windows for games. So I like Linux for a lot of things, and I really enjoyed CentOS because of its downstream pedigree from Red Hat. Red Hat is a very reasonable operating system that unfortunately comes with the penalty of expensiveness. You know what I mean? You have to kind of really buy into getting a Red Hat license. So that was why I liked CentOS for a lot of operating system deployments, server systems, and things like that. Unfortunately, that's kind of gone away recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's gone. They've repositioned CentOS to be a different part of the streaming deployment of the way that the newest code is coming through the lineage of Red Hat is that it will now be part of the pre-Red Hat experience, the pre-finalized, so it's upstream, essentially, what from Linux speak, from the Red Hat final, whereas CentOS today, especially in version 7 and 8, is what's called a downstream variant of Red Hat, which means Red Hat, from the stability perspective, is taken and then moved into CentOS. That's going away. So luckily, several people who were involved with CentOS have decided that they're going to start a different fork of Red Hat, which is just fine. That's part of their approach to the Linux community, which is just cool for them to say. So there's this new offshoot called Rocky Linux, and that's essentially going to be very similar in its approach to the way it derives its installation is downstream from Red Hat, and they have a lot of ground to cover in getting through.
So when you start installing it, do you start hearing dun 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 dun
Okay, you've got me.
It's gonna freeze.
It's not going to freeze. But anyway, the point is that there's a couple of guys who are heavily involved in CentOS have moved to creating this Rocky Linux thing, which is looking like it's going to be good. But the only way to kind of get legs underneath it is to get a lot of people involved, which there's like maybe 1,000 people that are already involved in it, but you need sponsorship. So not only are they having the will to do this, but there's a sponsorship in Control IQ, which is another guy who was attached to CentOS. So it looks like it's going to have legs. So this is one of my public service announcements. There's no dollars associated with this unless you're talented and want to get involved. Please do so. Come over to Rocky Linux, get involved if you need to. This is the Control IQ people who are going to be helping to sponsor it. They were heavily involved in basing their system off of CentOS, and once kind of that rug was pulled off from underneath them, these guys essentially endorsed and have now become a tier 1 sponsor of the Rocky Linux offshoot. And I'm looking forward to how that's going to come out, and I have definitely become involved in their forums, and as much as I can deploy it to try it out, I'll give them feedback. So if you want to be a sponsor or a part of that testing feedback involvement loop, definitely take a look at that.
And if anybody's still awake, we're going to move to Alan's pick.
No, nobody cares.
It's interesting. I mean, I'd heard about CentOS going
Nubbins?
away. And yeah, anyway. Alan, please enlighten us. What is this thing?
Came across this Kickstarter, which is about to end, actually. I don't know the exact amount of time left.
Is
on
it called a cake starter or kick? Cake?
It's got
'Cause I
7.
could get behind cake
Cake.
starter.
It's got 7 hours to go.
Kickstarter. 7 hours to go? Okay, well.
Is Cake Starter different from like sourdough starter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
all right.
much so.
So Revo Point Pop 3D scanner. So reasonably affordable 3D object scanner for those interested in possibly doing 3D printing stuff. And
Is
not
the
wanting
repurposed
to design.
Kinect?
Kind of. I mean, it's a redesign.
Nice.
It's not just a Kinect. It's not just a
It's
Kinect,
literally just a
you
Kinect.
know.
Yes, that would be great.
Well, But I mean, pretty cool concept that you can scan 3D objects, and then if you are into 3D printing, then you can print them out without having to try to recreate the thing manually. Potentially a pretty decent time saver, right? Anyway, seems cool.
I have to say, in the video, this woman looks absolutely disgusted by whatever she's doing on her computer here. It's like, what? What?
Yeah.
Why?
She's
Set
very
this on
Hey, the
fire.
life of an artist.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
when
I
it's
don't want to
like,
scan this,
watching
but I'm
it
gonna have
down?
to.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
this
terrible.
revolting what I've scanned. What is this?
Ugh. He made a cast
Well, when you
of
take
it?
a commission, you're gonna have to do it.
All right.
But like anytime I've seen equivalents of these things, they've been like thousands of dollars, and this thing's like 300. So if it's something people have been wanting to get into, but like every time you looked at the price of the thing, it was like, oh my goodness, like hell no, then
Well, plus it can
And
do an
in all
accurate
honesty,
face
I think-
scan, it says.
$300 for something like this is really, really impressive. I mean, years ago, I spent a lot of time in the corporate setting involved with 3D photography, 3D imaging, laser imaging, range finding, multicam setups, different lenses and things like that. I have patents in this sort of thing, so this is amazing for $300.
Humble brag.
Impressive. Yep, humble brag. It's but true.
anyway, seemed cool.
Yeah, it is. And so far of the rather modest $6,450 goal, they have raised $2.2 million. So,
there you
gonna.
go.
Seems
It doesn't
appropriate.
matter that there's only
So-
$7 left. It's going to be made. So,
So
That's fine.
Facebook's gonna buy them out tomorrow, is it?
yep, exactly. This is going to be.
You
a
know,
component
it
of
might
the
not
software.
work. It might suck.
Right.
know?
That's
They
true.
did a very
It may very
good
well suck.
video though. Like that video is very highly polished. Makes it feel like it's a real company making
Unlike
a real
us.
product.
It might not.
Okay, last on the list. Is this you, Kent? Who has this one? Yeah,
Kent.
Whoa,
That
this
is me.
This is a good deal.
Many, many years ago, there was a great man, some might call him a visionary, who had a dream. It was a very simple dream. That man, and without this man, none of us would be here. His name was Ryan Shrout. And his dream was 10 cents a gig for solid state storage. And here it is from a quality manufacturer.
A quality
1
manufacturer
terabyte.
that he does not work for. Samsung.
That's true. It's okay. We do 10
okay.
cents a gig too.
Well, right. I mean, for now, until it's all gone.
Well, QLC, yeah.
Yeah, until
You're
it's sold out. You're
abandoning-
not making anymore. You're not
You're
making
abandoning
anymore.
us in the consumer
Abandoning-
market.
We're still selling
Yeah.
SSDs with QLC in them. What are you talking about?
Right, for now. For now.
You're
What?
not making anymore.
I
Making
read
it?
I read a news story that said that they were
For
actually in the
how
consumer
much
space.
longer?
Well, you just get the NAND from somebody else, and then
Oh, I
you still
see.
can make the SSD.
I see.
It's not like, I still have a job testing the
For
things.
now.
Clearly, we're still working on that stuff. If I have stuff to test,
I don't think there's anything clear at all about it. Actually,
I'm just
Let's see.
saying,
yeah, all
The
right, fine.
disciple of Shrout has spoken. Do
Look.
not contradict him.
I thought the 905p was going to be the future for desktop, and then you just take it away. No more consumer
No, this-
Optane standalone
I
modules
got 'em.
anymore.
I got one right in
You've
this
got
system
it,
right
but
here.
dude,
It's a
look.
905p.
The
Oh,
press
he's gonna
release
whip it
said
out.
you
Stop
weren't going to
it.
sell
Stop
it
it. We can't
anymore.
handle it.
That
I
division.
can't whip it out. My feet will go away.
Your feet or your feed? All right. Anyway, sorry, Ken.
Feed.
We stomped all over that, but that's a 870
Killing me.
Q.
It's a nice price.
Vo. Like how
Yeah.
Samsung does the
Is that
Q
a
thing. Like they
SSD?
have QLED,
What?
QVO.
I know, it's like QVO. It reads.
Does that 10 cents a gig scale? Like as you go up the like? Does it go
Well,
all the way
let's
up at
see.
10 cents?
Let's see what the 2 terabyte model costs. 219. It doesn't scale. It doesn't scale.
Not
But 4
quite,
gigs.
no.
Oh, actually, you know what? For
It's
4
close.
terabytes.
Yeah, well,
4 gigs,
you know,
little bit
that's not
419
bad.
is pretty good.
How about that 8 terabyte?
What about the 8?
Now,
Come on,
you don't want to
gotta
know.
do it.
You don't want to know.
Turn the 8.
Why?
Oh, you
Do
know what?
it.
Hey,
Oh,
828.
that's not bad.
828.
Yeah.
That is not bad at all.
Yeah, it's
bad.
not bad.
That was
Actually, I was looking
exciting.
at some of the reviews. I was looking at some of the reviews from this, and like, I think it was like the 2 or the 4 terabyte. Remember that we always used to laugh like as we would test the newer Samsung drives, like it would be, I forget which model it was, but it was like 1 terabyte, but the PCB inside the SATA enclosure was like this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we talked
You
about
know.
that like a week or so ago.
Yeah, and now with this one, it's the same deal. It's like a 4 terabyte model, and the
Right.
PCBs.
Yeah, because it's like
you know,
the
like
part of the PCB of an M2 drive, and it's like just tucked into this.
I mean
2.5
basically
inch
Three
enclosure.
chips.
NVMe
It's
is
3
spoiled us.
chips.
It has.
yeah.
You can keep your Bitcoin in the empty space.
Well, you know, Samsung makes high performance SD cards. They're just taking like the innards of an SD card and they put it into a 2.5 inch enclosure, and there you go.
Kind of looks like it.
I think that's it. Unless anybody has
My
something
butt
else.
is really numb.
Yeah. Well, you know, parts of
butt
my
is
body have
numb.
fallen asleep as well.
Yeah.
So.
And
just
it
the
wasn't
price
my
we pay.
fault just talking about Linux.
No,
It's not my
it
fault.
wasn't. It wasn't. It felt like forever, but it wasn't actually
Yeah,
forever.
no. All right,
We've
you
only
got
been
through
doing
it, though.
this. We've been recording for 2 hours and 12 minutes at this point. And I'm sure by the time I get done editing in this, it'll probably only be about 2 hours and 8 minutes. You know, maybe
You're pretty
2 hours
heavy
and 7
hand
minutes.
with the
yeah.
with the cutting.
Just cut. I'm going to cut everything that I said in the desperate attempt to make this shorter, and to save myself the embarrassment. All right. I want to thank Alan for joining us from his Fortress of Solitude.
I'd like
Thank
to,
you,
but
Alan.
Look at and all the cool stuff back there. Just one more time before we
What?
leave. Look
It's
at
the
all
same
this
shelf.
stuff. I know, but it's
Nothing
it's
has changed.
it's in
It's all the
HD.
same crap.
It's in HD now.
It's more
I mean,
stuff.
it was an HP
I feel
before.
like
It's the
there is
same
more.
there is
webcam.
more stuff
look,
out.
look. But did Ryan
more
cut
stuff.
to you
There
and
is more stuff.
enthusiastically say, "Alan, I love your backdrop. Let's talk more about all the stuff."
No,
you
because I
have
was
there."
because I was sitting next to him at the
Right, because you were at the office, like you.
Yes, that was the
So,
reason.
when you were doing Twitch, that was on display. But
That's
you were doing
true.
that
How
from
far away
your
is
phone.
the
Yeah, well, I
office?
was doing
How
Twitch.
far away is the old office from your house? Is it 900 feet or is it 1,200 feet?
That's
The
like
old
a, it's like a
office?
five
Just
bed
trying to
truck.
think. Yeah. Okay.
It's-
Oh, so a
still
good
an office.
Ethernet run then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid Ethernet run.
A Ryan Shrout, half a spool.
I had to go get a
Ethernet run.
clothesline hanger clip because this is going so long.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm
Well,
clamped
Sorry about
off.
that. All right.
I feel you.
we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening and or watching. All right. I'm stopping the
All
recording.
of you.
Good night, all.
Stop
Okay.
recording. Oh. We're still streaming though. How big is this file going to be?
I'll be back.
Okay.
You need a bigger SSD.
He does.
Needs a bigger SSD. Get some 10 cents a gig.
Yeah.
Man, even at the lower bit rate I recorded at, it's still a 14 gigabyte MP4 file that I have to edit. Great.
Yeah. That's going to load up quite nicely.
You know, I have to say, DaVinci Resolve performance with bigger files is totally fine. Scrubbing around,
Really?
it's great. The performance is outstanding.
What kind of system
I mean,
are
isn't
you loading that
isn't
in?
that what it's for? Like it's supposed
It
to be
is
able to
what it's
handle
for, but I've had sluggish performance in Adobe apps before, and then some of the
That's
other
Adobe.
stuff I-
Premiere is kind of a beast.
Yes,
it's,
it is.
It's
Well,
not
yeah.
very efficient in many ways. So, what's
Oh my
the
God.
system specs that you're loading this into?
It's a
Not a
Core
Mac.
i9 with a 2070. Nothing crazy. It does it does GPU stuff, but I'm not using any of those GPU accelerated effects or anything. I'm just cutting and dragging stuff around in the timeline.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the floor in Josh's office?
That is impressive.
Because
He
that
gets
took
angry.
some work.
He gets I won't say angry, but he doesn't really appreciate it when we take a little
Let's fill the
tour
frame
in
with that.
here.
Oh.
What is happening
Yeah,
back
we're-
there?
Well, it's almost like an avalanche of. I don't even know what to call that.
I got a screenshot of
That
that
would
and analyze it
be.
later.
You see the cat in the lower bottom of the frame there?
I do.
Is the cat in
I
that
do.
drawer?
That,
Oh,
that
yeah,
would
the
be my
cat.
guess.
Yeah.
That looks like what a cat would have done.
Well, if you can blame it on the cat, then that saves
The
face.
cat's
I
like,
guess.
hey, where'd you go, dude? Like, I'm not cleaning up this mess.
Yeah. What's
just-
happening
I made
back
it.
here? There's,
Now
like,
you're supposed to
motherboard
fix it so I
boxes.
can make it again.
The cat's like, I've been looking at this Ripper XXL box
Yeah, for
for the
frickin'
past 5 years.
it's got to be.
Well,
more
Well, the
than
only
5
problem is it
years.
weighs more
No, I
than the
shouldn't-
cat does. So.
Now, I shouldn't say anything because up in that corner, in the very back
No,
corner,
no. You got a Ripper
is the
too?
Ripper XXL. Yes, it's. I've had sitting there for the same number of years.
They must have had some big push. Send everybody Ripper XXL mouse pads.
You know,
And then
I
never
think
get
I
'em
bought
reviewed.
that,
Yep.
actually. I bought that because I needed a blotter for the desk, and then it was too big to fit on this desk. So I put it back in the tube. And I was like,
Are you
oh,
making
man.
fun of my Ripper
Oh, well.
XXL suit? as
Yeah,
well?
but
yes.
I was pointing out that I too had it still in the tube up there on the
Oh, nice.
yeah, like, and it's been there the whole
Yeah,
time.
I've never really
like,
even
for
removed
forever.
those. It's bizarre. Right, Kitty?
Yeah, we saw the cat and the Ripper XXL box, wondering.
Yeah, the
how
cat
long
was
is it
just
in there?
staring off into the room, just kind of like wondering
Good
like
kitty.
what was going on, just like
Wondering
yeah.
who's going to
Yeah.
clean this up.
Where did- Oh. You know, it's honest to God. A couple of weeks back, I really did honestly clean my office up. And then my wife
It just
decided
immediately
to
goes back,
reorganize
yeah.
the front of the house, and everything in the front of the house has now gone to the back. I mean,
Aha.
a lot of
Double
crap
stack-
on her
what-
desk.
Is that a
It's like shoe
is that a voodoo-
boxes and mail.
is that a Voodoo 3
and-
back there? What's on top of the Ryzen box? Is that a
Oh,
Voodoo 3 3000? What is that?
SLI Voodoo
Did I guess
2s.
right? Oh, Voodoo
Yeah.
2. Oh, SLI Voodoo 2s. Oh, fancy. So fancy.
Scan line
Back in- back in-
interleave.
Where's the external
Back
bypass?
in the day,
Kitty. Kitty is ecstatic about Voodoo.
Kitty's like, "What? What is that? Is that SLI?" It's, yeah.
It smells old.
Scan line interleave. It's so 90.
It wasn't until the 3 that they had 2D on board, right? Was Voodoo 2 still 3D only?
No, Voodoo Banshee was their first.
Nope.
Oh, it was
2D,
Banshee?
3D.
Yep.
Okay.
But there was a Voodoo 3, Voodoo 2, Voodoo Rush, but it was crap.
Oh, right.
I have one. I have
The
a Rush.
Alliance.
Horrible.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is, they are lower performing than a standalone Voodoo 1. But they have 2D.
Yeah,
But I mean,
and crappy 2D at that.
That's what my Matrox card was for.
right, at that point in history, those were $50 3D upgrade boards. So you just added on to the 2D card you already had. Man, I want those days to come back. Why can't I buy a GPU for $50 that lets me play all the latest games?
And then add on RTX
Why can't I buy a
later
GPU?
with an add-on board.
Yeah, what can I buy a GPU
Don't forget for that
of any
50 bucks.
kind?
Don't
Yeah.
forget for that $50, it came with a copy of Descent for that, and
Yep.
Mech Warrior for that. Whatever
was
that
good.
whatever that was. Right?
That was probably
Yep,
good
Mech
too.
2.
Mech Warrior
And a
2.
nice
of
demo
which
disc.
I have somewhere I have 4 separate copies of Mech Warrior 2.
Because it came with your Voodoo cards?
No, because it was the
Yeah,
it
there
was
a
the DOS
3DFX
version. It was the Windows
there was
version.
a
It was the
Red
3DX
Line
version.
There was
There was
Metal,
the S3
S3
Verge.
Metal.
The S3
Yeah,
Verge
S3
version.
Metal.
Yeah.
And then Rage.
And I used to keep,
Rage 3D.
I forget, yeah, Rage 3D. I forget which version of it, but I kept one of the versions of that game in the CD changer of my car because I would just play all the music for it. You don't want to play track 1. That was bad.
Right.
That was
yeah.
a little bit loud.
Wasn't good for the subwoofer in the car.
It was not good for the stereo.
No.
But all the other tracks, oh yeah. That was, heck, I kind of want to listen to that now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's been a long
That was
time.
the
since
coolest
I've heard
ambient, that was like the coolest ambient music.
Archimedean Dynasty had really good
that.
electronica music. I don't know if you remember that one. It was one of the first 24-bit color games out there.
Oh, 24-bit.
Something like that. Yeah.
The thing I've been listening to lately is like rock band reenactments of old Commodore 64 game soundtracks. Like there's a group
at
called
some
Fast
point-
Loaders, and they remade the Last Ninja soundtrack for Commodore 64,
Oh,
and they
God.
did it in metal, and it's freaking amazing. And like I'm just shocked how well those tracks translate over to like guitar riffs. Like some of them are just like, oh my god, like this must have been, this just must have been designed to be played on guitar because it just sounds so good on it. Yeah.
At some point, we're going to
Probably
get out the
written on
the
guitar
old,
and
the
then
old gear.
transferred over to MIDI or
The old gear.
Yeah, we're going to bring up some old stuff, and we're going to do like a retro show or something. We keep promising to do that.
And then not
I
delivering.
mean, there's a retro show every time Josh grabs something off of his freaking
Right.
back, or I grab something.
That's why
off
it
of
could
Yeah,
just
but
be
I'm going to go.
informal
I'm
show
going to
and
drag
tell.
up all the old Commodore gear and bring up the Amigas and the Commodore 64, and I think I still have a VIC 20 somewhere.
That was one that
I
Shatner
got
got
rid of-
for, right?
one thing.
I got rid of
about
my
the,
I got rid of my Commodore 64, and I regret it.
the
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to say that you were talking about the sound in games, and it just reminded me of a point of Cyberpunk that I had talked to my wife about. Whatever else CD Projekt Red did wrong on this game, the sound engineering and editing in this game deserves awards. It does things with the sound that I've never seen in games. I was walking along a sidewalk, and a group of cars passed me. One of the cars had music playing, and I could tell which car it was that had the music playing as they went by. It was amazing.
Cool.
And it's just, and there's so much sound in the game that is like that.
It's doing the spatially whatever that engine is. Isn't that
Our
like an
Real
NVIDIA
3D?
thing, you thought? No, I thought there was some NVIDIA engine or something they were showing off
Oh,
years back.
wasn't?
that
Didn't
makes-
AMD do this thing too? Like
Oh, that was
their own-
years back,
Yeah,
and they didn't.
they both did some
follow up on
version
it.
of it, right? Like some kind of 3D positional, stuff that was
Yeah.
accelerated by physics or something, or
HRTF,
Whatever. yeah, that thing.
head-related transfer
Yep.
functionality.
Yeah.
And they bailed on that to bring us ray tracing. Bastards.
No, I mean, I think it's still a thing. Like, I think it still exists. I don't think they just put a fork
Well, I
in it
think
or
like
anything.
Unreal Engine integrates a whole bunch of audio technology that they just plug in, and
Yeah.
it just works. So
Sound gets overlooked a lot because it's easier to see the difference in resolutions or detail settings. But if you go from integrated motherboard audio to like a dedicated sound card with a really good like dynamic range and signal to noise ratio, it can make a really big difference.
Yep.
But then you have to get into the whole like feeding it through a good amp and speakers and stuff. And when you're using just like speakers with built-in amps, like desktop speakers, you're not going to really hear a difference unless you have high-end headphones and an amp to drive them. But it's just kind of insane going from, integrated, which in comparison sounds really narrow and flat. But, most people that
but
I...
it's so much better than it was 15
It
years
is,
ago.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, except
Yeah.
for Enforce 2.
But it's like saying...
Enforce 2.
It's like saying DVD is so much better than VHS.
Yep.
Right, but Blu-ray is better than DVD. But unfortunately, this is an argument I constantly lose. Like, I know people who still to say, I can't tell the difference. Like, they watch standard definition stuff on their HD TV and they don't understand why.
Well, those are the same people that, they don't need to game higher than 30 FPS because they don't notice.
Right. Well, the human eye can't see it, remember? There are people who contend that there's just, you can't even see the difference. Why would you
They
want to
can't
go high
see
refresh?
past 30 frames per second. Blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Human eyes.
Yeah. I can tell all the way up to 165.
Yeah, but even
you know.
NVIDIA Soundstorm was only 16-bit.
No, it
Go
was,
over
yeah.
that.
But good God, it was so much better than all the other crap out at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, the bit depth was part of it. The sampling
5.1
rate
encoding.
was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. So you just introduced more latency into your sound because it had to encode the sound stream, send it to your external receiver that would decode it, and then you would actually listen to the audio.
Well, you
wait,
have
or
that
it
today
didn't matter back in
with
We
digital
didn't care
outs
about that in
and-
2002.
and outboard decks now. I mean, you have that today, essentially.
As it turns
What's
out, I
wrong
didn't
with that?
completely get rid of. I didn't completely get rid of my Commodore.
Whoa, you got a
What do you
control.
have
Let's
there?
see.
Well,
joystick is
the
that?
old-
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
the plug it into the TV thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That this is a full C64.
Is
in
it
there.
really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If I
Not
open
just
this
a
up,
single
there's solder
game.
pads. There's solder pads on it, and I can actually hook up like Joyport 1 and 2 to the
Nice.
PCB on this.
Yep.
It has like the COM port, like all
Oh,
the
really?
yeah. This is
Yeah,
the thing that
buddy of
Jerry
mine
Ellsworth
stole that on
worked
me.
on the design for.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
still
Jerry.
available?
No, I bought
No.
this. I
Oh,
was
I wouldn't think
gouged
so.
like over a decade ago. I bought this off of eBay and was gouged on it. Even then,
So now it's even more
Because-
insane.
No, for some reason,
Yeah.
Jerry's a little bit bitter about her past career. Can't imagine why.
about that thing in particular.
Well, no, just sort of general
Oh,
VR shite and Valve and
yeah.
But wait, she's got her own AR,
There's
she
another
does
guy.
now.
doesn't she?
I don't remember what she's
Yeah.
doing now.
Yeah, she's doing
Where's my-
AR.
Probably 4 or
Where's
5
my
years
cat?
past.
All you guys got cats. I got no cat.
Yeah, Kent.
Damn
Well,
cat.
Well, I'm
introduce us
surprised
to your
my
cat.
two
I didn't know
aren't-
you had a cat.
Where are your cats?
I'm surprised my two cats aren't chewing on me because I'm like at least an hour late for their wet food treat.
Cat is hiding. There's what's a black shirt, black
Oh,
cat.
the tail.
It's gonna be hard to see.
Yeah.
Got a calico.
Tortoise
Guys,
shell,
anyway.
yeah.
All right,
I don't
I got to
think
get out of
Sebastian
here.
has a
It's-
cat.
It's late,
I used
and
to.
I'd like to get some
Yeah,
sleep.
I really need to.
So
Get some
Feed
sleep,
some
Josh.
it's been fantastic
All right.
seeing
It's a
you,
pleasure
Alan,
as always.
Yeah, good to
And
see
you,
you.
Kent.
It was fun.
We'll
Good
talk
to
to
see
you
you,
guys soon.
Josh.
See you guys.
See ya. Wait, everybody's
See ya.
leaving or just Josh? Well, let's just
Well,
go.
I
It's
definitely
almost
am.
1 a.m. It's time to go. It's time
It's
to go.
all, it is 1 a.m. It's
Right.
probably time to go.
Yeah, we should end it, I guess. See, Josh is just frozen in time.
He's really good though.
Yeah, look at this.
He's really, really good at
All
that.
right, gotta go, guys. My butt's asleep. And I got a hankering for some crunchy peanut butter for some reason. I don't know why.
Like 9 times tonight,
Right.
I have imagined.
Yeah.
You know, when I
Crunching
left the
myself
room,
in
hey,
crunchy
when I
peanut
left the
butter.
room earlier, guys, I gotta tell you a true story. I was getting crunchy peanut butter
Yeah, he was.
every time.
He was like me with cheesecake filling at the fridge. He just like yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
crunchy
gotta have some of that cheesecake filling.
I just gotta get the crunchy peanut butter.
What are you doing down there, Alan? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Nothing. Nom, nom, nom.
I think I've seen Alan eating stuff out of a can before, just at his desk, just cold out of the can with like a fork.
What?
Maybe. No, I don't know, because you would always have like food at your desk in the old office. I feel like.
I would graze. Ryan referred
Yeah.
to it as me grazing.
There would be just
I
like
would get
random
lunch.
things, like cold McDonald's
Yeah.
fries or something.
Yeah, I would get lunch, and then I would be like, I would get to the office with lunch, and then I would sit
Well, it's
down,
because you
and
didn't
then
show up until
sitting there.
lunchtime. Like Alan's
Well,
workday would
yeah.
begin at around
I would-
11:30 noon.
But I would come with lunch. But the thing was, I
Yes.
would usually leave like after everybody else left, so I'd be there till like 6 or 7 at night.
Oh, I
You
see.
know, but I would be distracted by the thing, like going through storage results or whatever, right? And so the lunch would just sit on the desk and
or
sort of rot.
or YouTube videos, so whatever it was that you were distracted.
Or
Whatever.
YouTube videos or whatever. Yeah.
Now, Alan has or had a 42-inch 4K TV right in front
40
of
inch,
him
yeah.
for his monitor,
40-inch monitor.
which actually was great because
It's,
you don't have to do any upscaling.
It's now on the dining room table.
Oh, okay. Hold
Over
on.
there,
Let's
next to
let's
test
move
beds.
to
I'm not really
Alan
seeing
Cam.
it.
Alan
No, he's
Cam.
gonna-
Oh, I see it. It's kind of.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
over there. In a stack of test beds.
Oh, I see it. It's sideways. Yep.
Yeah, it's sideways. Sorry. That's that Seiki Pro 40-inch, which now is indispensable because like it has multiple inputs and you can do 4 1080p's on it at the same
Oh,
time.
nice! It's multi-stream. Excellent.
Yeah, so I can have 4 test beds going all at the same time and see all 4 of them at the same time without having
You
to
could
cave
build a
in.
Skyposaurus with one monitor.
Yeah,
Think
it's like its
about
own 40-inch Skyposaurus.
it. Yeah,
Testbedosaurus.
Skyposaurus. Patent it.
Sorry, I just need to. Is it, no, wrong hand. Gotta go. Do we all gotta do this move?
What?
We all
So
gotta do
we're
this
all
little-
frozen in time at the same place?
We got a screenshot. Everybody's got to put up your left hand and is it? Mm-hmm. Jeremy, you got to do it. Jeremy, is Jeremy frozen?
Jeremy
Did Jeremy
left.
leave?
Jeremy left.
Oh God damn it! Oh, we can't all do it now.
All right, but I'm gonna end the stream, just like this.
Mm.